Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, coming at you live from my studio/RV dining room located directly inside America. Well, welcome back, folks, to the interwebs. Once again, JJ Vance here, your host of Operation GCD, and perhaps more notably, not the vice president. Anyhow, folks, I will be your pilot and navigator for tonight's shenanigan-infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude. And not gonna lie to you folks, got a real barn burner here on deck tonight. Got Heidi Love joining us from the Unfiltered Rise podcast for some further discussions on Mormon parapolitics, the Society of Cincinnati, and other such matters. And let's welcome Heidi Love to our Fridays. Welcome back, Heidi. Welcome back to Operation GCD. Thanks again for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be here, and definitely always to have a big barn burning full of Mormons and Hughes.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got to talk about Howard Hughes because he's right there in the mix of all these matters of parapolitics and the Mormons. And it is Howard Hughes that you've really brought a lot of those matters up to my attention regarding a lot of these things. And we've, in those journeys and discussions we've had in the past, we've discovered a lot of these new Society of the Cincinnati connections, even with Hughes, it seems.
Oh, yeah. You found some new stuff you sent me that I think we're going to talk about tonight, which is very fascinating. Our little collaboration of things gets real interesting real quick.
For sure. So what's new at the Unfiltered Rise podcast since the last talk to you?
Yeah. I went on vacation. I went on a little tiny vacation, back recording today. So excited for that, and had fun with the family, and had 2 flat tires, one there and one on the way back with our trailer. So that was fun. Not at all.
Oh, no.
But other than that, just doing the grindstone, always keeping new stuff. Usually try to do 3 times a week at this point. So
there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
And I know Tim was supposed to join us from 6th Century podcast tonight, and he couldn't make it. So hopefully next time. I enjoyed our last conversation we did with him. I know you just sent me a copy of that. I guess that's publishing soon. Is that correct?
Yeah. That one, I think that one's out. Yeah. So that one should be out.
Oh, nice.
When I
so
sent.
This nice discussion will be a good addendum to that conversation then.
Absolutely. Always good to go down this road, because no matter how many times, and especially with you, no matter how many times I go down the road and think I've got the answer, then there's more answers. And then JJ hits me up with a big slew of stuff that I'm like, are you serious right now? Which is a good thing.
Well, that's the way I feel about it too. Whenever we have these discussions regarding, all these Mormon matters, especially because it is these matters that, and revisiting some of these things, it is these matters that I discovered even more society connections, like with, some of the stuff you brought to my attention regarding Joseph Smith's family history back to Dartmouth, and this Solomon Spaulding, who was a lieutenant in the New Hampshire chapter. And he's largely credited throughout the years with at least dubious claims, according to the mothership in Salt Lake City, at least, that some of his book, his unfinished manuscript, was used as the basis for the Book of Mormon. And I think there's a strong argument to be made there.
Well,
Even more so now, right?
Or they learned the same information from Professor Johnny, and all learned how to do the Abramelin and went out in the woods and did it. I don't know.
I mean, it's it's an inquiry worth venturing down because of these connections, and they go back. And again, the Smiths, no different than a lot of these other characters, go back to that same group, the Society of the Cincinnati.
Yes. And if it isn't that, then it's 100% witchcraft, which I've been actually doing lately, a little kind of discussion and searching into some very strange dates and coincidences. So I did find out that they call him Captain Samuel Smith, who was a great grandfather to Joseph, but there's also the great great grandfather, and to separate them out, the one was the Boston Tea Party guy, the other one is the witch hanging guy there in the Inquisition of Salem, Massachusetts, Mary Eastie, she happened to die on a really strange date, JJ. And I'm going to see if you catch this. I'm reading along about how, great great grandpa helped kill this lady that was innocent. But he thinks he protests too much, and maybe he was actually the wizard himself. But regardless, whatever the case may be, he does get rather involved in the Inquisition regarding Mary Easty. You can look her up. And she is a real lady that got hung there, mostly due to Samuel Smith, this one. Yep. And his testimony that was given, and it's all recorded. This isn't just Heidi says so. This is 100% recorded in the statement from him for those Salem witch trials, and it's all documented. So she was hung, oddly enough, on September 22nd, JJ. How do you like that one?
Oh.
Yeah.
And refresh my memory on what the significance of that date is?
And 132 years later, Joseph Smith got the plates right then and there.
Oh, yes. There you go.
September
Thank
22nd.
you. I knew it was something. I was thinking that was April, but that was when he founded the church. That's right.
Fall equinox. We got some dressed in black, magic circle type stuff. Weird. Well, only weird if you don't do witchcraft. Whatever. But like I said, very witchcraft of him. So maybe she came back to haunt his ass, and that's why, all of them met untimely demises later, right?
Oh, for sure. And as we discussed before, Heidi, I think a lot of these matters are passed down in these bloodlines as far as this occult practice, right?
100%. 100%. I mean, I think that even though Schnellenbaum, I think that's how you say his name, Bill Schnellenbaum. Have you heard of him before? I assume. He says a lot. Oh, you've got to see his stuff on Mormonism, but he talks a lot about, he was a Druidic witchcraft member, and he definitely says that they told him, if you ever get in trouble and you need a good cover, go become a Mormon. He talks about it. So kind of interesting where we know, Druids practice such things. Not pointing my finger one way or another, just saying we can't say we're one thing and be another, right?
Oh, well, for sure.
Yeah.
So this is fun. Joseph's grandfather, right? Samuel Smith.
So there are two Samuel Smiths. Samuel Smith Sr. is the witchcraft guy, and Samuel Smith Jr. is the Tea Party guy. And so that's how I have distinguished them. But yeah. Yep.
So he served,
and actually his birthday was very weird. 1666, like 666, but whatever.
I saw that. So he served as the captain in the Massachusetts chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. Now that's an interesting chapter because, most the Tea Party one, right? So that most of the chapters, they don't provide membership to the officers from that state or that colony at the time, right? The 13 colonies each have a chapter until the start of the Revolutionary War, with the exception of Massachusetts, it seems. So I looked at their rules and regulations, if you will. And Joseph's grandfather definitely still qualifies, but they cut off membership at 1755, I think it is. It's weird.
I know he was a
I'm sorry, after
Samuel.
Yeah. After any militia service after June of 1775, so Lexington and Concord does not count.
Wow.
An eligible officer must have had at least 3 years of service in the Continental Forces started before that date. So Joseph qualifies for sure.
Does he? Okay. Did you find info on him on Samuel that he was part? Yeah. I hadn't looked because I knew you would know. So I just knew.
Right here. I double checked it with the DAR. They got the file right there, but you can see here that he served as the chairman of the Tea Committee in Topsfield in 1773.
Yes, that is him.
Elected and the first provincial Congress in Massachusetts in 1774.
Yeah, he was a selectman for years and years and years. Obviously this is what they're trying to hide with the whole witchcraft thing, I'm assuming, because otherwise there would be absolutely no reason for the Mormon Church not to put this front and center, being patriotic as they are, that this is a key member for, the United States of America. Why would they not? But
I think that's part of it, right? But the other part of it is, I think, hiding the Society, the Cincinnati stuff, right?
Possibly so. Yep. They're hiding lots of things.
If he passes down the hereditary membership to Joseph's father, well, who does Joseph's father pass it down to? Joseph?
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So very, very interesting. It's really kind of wild that these are not like farmer nobodies, that these are now all of a sudden selectmen, right? Like, come on, very strange. So they're trying to hide everything here. And yeah, I think Salem witch trials and Society of Cincinnati are two good reasons why they would. So
Well, and that we see a greater pattern of behavior around these things. So Jack Parsons, Marvel, Whiteside Jack Parsons, the OTOist from the Agape Lodge, right? The infamous Crowleyite, and NASA solid state rocket fuel inventor through magic rituals, his own words, not mine. Well, it seems like his heritage is the exact same as Joseph's, though, right? With the captain in the Massachusetts chapter of the Society of Cincinnati, his third great grandfather, whose grandmother Parsons was an accused witch in the witch trials, right?
The witch that he accused was actually a lady that was innocent, and they were feuding families, which they were feuding over land. The Goulds, Goulde, and another family. I can't remember the name, but
that's Joseph's grandmother's name.
Oh, that is the grandmother. Okay, so there it is. Yep. So they were arguing over land.
Sam's wife, right? That's the Goulds.
So
they're a prominent Massachusetts Bay family.
Ah, okay.
Much like that Lothrop fellow I was telling you about, that's everybody's descended from, right? Joseph included, myself included. Well, there's the Gould fellow. He's got the same kind of heritage or descendants kind of deal, right?
I know that he definitely, with Joseph's family, it's very deep in a magical root, which they're definitely trying to hide there. And I've actually found out one other thing, and this is really fascinating. And I did not find this out on my own, nor can I take any claim to this. And this was from, I don't want to misquote, let me tell you what his handle is, but it's a guy that is a Micmac. Yes, Old World Micmac. Old World Micmac sent me some information about Uncle Jason Mack. And Jason Mack knew a whole lot about the Micmac Indians. And boy, is that story super interesting. They actually write in something called Reformed Egyptian. How uncanny is that? So
the Micmacs? Yeah. Interesting.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah,
I post it's super weird. And I have to tell you guys, like, even the boats that they say they came over in, like the Nephi boats, and he was telling me this story, sent it to me, and I thought, oh, okay, well, you heard the story about the Nephites then. And he's like, what's a Nephite? So no, he didn't. He just happened to send that to me. It was weird. You guys should definitely check that out. Check out Old World Micmac on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to check that out. So yeah, this is the guy. He was one of the first dudes in Massachusetts Bay, and he's got a lot of famous descendants, if you will.
Very nice. That's so they were fighting, and supposedly, like, there was a push from behind, and he got attacked. And his testimony, they actually were going to let her off and not follow through with hanging her, but his testimony was the piece that sealed her fate, and so she died. Yeah, from that.
Yeah, so this is a good comment. We see all these strange connections to these occult societies. Ghislaine Maxwell's sister's father-in-law was Frank Molina, the partner in the Suicide Squad there, and those magic rituals to make solid state rocket fuel. But I like what you're saying there, Heidi, because all of these things, in my opinion, these things that we describe as parapolitical events in our modern era, really boil down to these secret societies, largely focused here in America around the Society of Cincinnati. If not exclusively, all roads lead back to the society, in my opinion, when it comes to conspiracies and parapolitical natures here in America. And we see, again, these repeating patterns across the spectrum of activities. And I think it really boils down to what you're describing, these feuds over land and power and money between these secret societies and these bloodlines.
Oh, yeah. It always goes back to that. And also, I think a lot of this had to do with hiding, what they were really up to in general. Like, I mean, if that woman happened to know, now I was just thinking about it, like, if she happened to know some of their secrets and she was going to squill on them because they said she was a super religious, pious woman, maybe she threatened them or something, you know, and he did pull the trigger first. Who knows? But very strange.
Well, there's a lot of that going on. So as I've been diving more into this is Parsons' foremother. Her grandson was that captain in the society. Captain Parsons. She was also acquitted, but she was accused of being a witch. But I keep tracking a lot more of these lines back to Essex County, back to the same time frame through a number of these folks, right? Throughout many matters here in our parapolitical landscape in the last 100 years here in America. I haven't gone too much further back past that. I'm really going back to the Manson family and a lot of that stuff there. So if you look at these high profile terror, domestic, almost terror kind of serial killer events there in the summer of '69 in California, we have the Manson affair on August 8th through the 10th of '69, the Tate LaBianca murders, and then the Tate Polanski house, and then the LaBianca murders. So the one thing I've noticed, Heidi, when I'm looking at all this occult genealogy as well, is when we look at these high profile crimes, a lot of folks don't ask the very basic questions of murder. And that is, what brought this victim to the situation to get murdered, the victimology of the situation. And looking at that, I would argue that it's the same thing, these feuding secret societies, right? So Sharon Tate, for example, right? Actress Sharon Tate, Process Church member, wife of Roman Polanski, friends with Cocaine Bob and gang, right? Bob Evans. He's the one that brokered their marriage, right? He was supposed to be there that night by his own admission. Anyhow, Sharon Tate's father, Colonel Paul Tate, U.S. Army Intelligence. His second great grandfather was a Lieutenant Jesse Tate from the Virginia chapter of the society, it seems, right? An officer in the Revolution. And he didn't have any sons. His only son and his only grandson, for that matter, his surviving daughter only had a daughter. The only son he had was that 8.5-month-old baby in his daughter Sharon Tate's belly when she was murdered. So that kind of puts a new framework on that. I think if you look at it like this interfeuding class warfare between these bloodlines, like they did in the old world, right? They just brought it to the new world in the same capacity, right? And then you look at Brian Hartnell there, September 27th, 1969, the Zodiac victim at Lake Berryessa getting stabbed a bunch by a guy in a hood, what seems like a magic ritual snuff film that was being filmed there. Magic ritual sacrifice filmed as a snuff film, it seems. So there's, multiple facets to these crimes, but to understand why the victim is important, I think. And Hartnell's maternal grandfather was the descendant of a Colonel Walker. His second great grandfather was a Colonel Walker, aide de camp to General von Steuben and personal friends with George Washington out of the I believe it was the New York chapter. Yeah, the New York chapter. So that man died 2 years before Brian Hartnell got stabbed. So it seems that Brian Hartnell, whose grandfather only had a daughter, and that daughter only had one son, Brian Hartnell, it seems Brian Hartnell might have been a member of the Society of Cincinnati, despite being his young age when he got stabbed that day. So I think it's important to consider these matters when we're talking about all this occult stuff. It seems it could be irrelevant, it seems, because we're told these things don't matter, right? And these are just random acts of violence by lone nut serial killers kind of deal. But it seems that's not the case, right?
Well, and if it ends the passing down, like you postulated before, once somebody gets in charge that has both, right, the genealogy and the bloodline, like behind them with the politics, you always say like they don't like that for some reason. Like it's not a good thing when they're a part of the Society of the Cincinnati and the bloodline situation. So they take him out. So if you, like you said, if that's the end of his posterity that ended with Sharon, like maybe that's what they're doing, is slowly cleaning up their Society of Cincinnati cards.
Yeah, I think it's, there's multifaceted operations, but I think that's one, could be one motivating factor. Now, here's another motivating factor. So Leno LaBianca, the other Manson family murderer the second night there in the terror, is often claimed to have all these mob associations and whatnot, which I'm not disputing necessarily, but that doesn't mean, it's the old correlation and causation thing, right? So It seems Leno LaBianca's served in World War II, U.S. Army Air Corps military police. That would later turn into the Air Force military police. So technically the same service I served in. And because this is 1945, 44 and 45 when he's serving. His Air Force isn't created until 47 from the Army Air Corps, right? Breaks off. But Anyhow, his unit gets activated, sent to Europe, right, from the Bay Area. I'm sorry, from Los Angeles area. And he seems to be serving at a camp called Camp Overcast in Lansdowne, Bavaria, which is the first round of the Project Paperclip Nazis. His military police unit seems to have been guarding Camp Overcast in Bavaria for that first. It was called Operation Overcast before Project Paperclip. So he's got some deep connections if that's the case, because he wasn't a low-ranking fella in that unit. He was an E6.
Wow. That's weird. Definitely not a coincidence, I'm saying.
Right.
Definitely not. No way.
So when we look at these matters and we see all that stuff you've pointed out with the Smith family and kind of providing greater context perhaps to these tales, because it seems like that the Mormons are an offshoot of the society in a sense. When you see all the society members like Elias Boudinot writing about all the lost tribes here in America, then you see another society member, Solomon Spalding, here writing about all the mounds and the wars between these natives, right? So these are two members of the society that have written books before Joseph Smith that include all the narratives Joseph Smith includes. And again, his father,
as well as Jason Mack.
Member.
Yeah, Jason Mack. And we should look up his status, because I dare say he was a military. That is Lucy Mack's, his mother's brother.
Right. I don't know much about him though. So you said he was
living with the Micmacs. He was very intertwined with them. And
did he marry into them or something, or was it?
I don't think he married in. He just was there, and like, there's books on this. This is in the Prophet Joseph Smith book with Lucy's accounts and her kind of autobiography, if you will. It's her notes on the matter, but very interesting that he was there with them, and to what capacity. Like, why is this also not known? Right. But then when you start looking into things, makes more sense.
No, I totally agree. What's his name again? Jason. There we go.
Jason Mack. Let's see.
So there's not much information here on Wikitree.
I'm sure. I'm certain of it.
Right.
Every single time. And you have to go up through another family member, it seems, every single time. This happens a lot. We'll have to go through maybe Jesse.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think it would come through Jesse. I think he's a Smith. We'll have to find somebody else to go through to find. But I will tell you guys, History of the Prophet Joseph is the book. It speaks specifically about him being there and very close, especially with a brother named Solomon. So,
History of the Prophet Joseph Smith, huh?
Yep. And this was sent to me today by the IG account, the Micmac one that I told you guys about already. But
interesting,
very strange. Yeah, old world.
Yeah, I'll put a link of that account in the show notes. What's the name? This is the name of the book?
History of the Prophet Joseph. And this is page 50 he sent me today, talking specifically about Jason and him being with the Micmac people. So he would have known there is a really cool video. I should have sent it to you, but it's on my IG, but I don't know if it'll let us play it because of all the weirdness. But they talk about this history of these copper plates, and that they read them by vibration only. And this guy postulates this, let me find his name. He postulates that they vibrate.
What am I doing wrong here, Heidi? I can't find this book anywhere.
Right. Well, I have the actual
maybe
page sitting in front of me. Let's see. History of the Prophet Joseph. That is what it is called. And I do believe it's Lucy that wrote.
Oh, by his mother?
Oh,
okay. It's right here then. I got that.
Yep. And yep. So, long story short, there was a lot there with these copper plates. Sounds very familiar to golden plates. And these are still actually in existence today. The tribe owns them still. And this specific chief, let me find his name, speaks about this and how his name is David Lone Bear Sanipass, Sanipass. And he talks about the vibrational language of these plates. And he says that they have almost all of them, but the Mormons have some. And it makes you really wonder. Yeah.
These go along with those keys they're always hiding from folks.
Right? That, you know, I'm telling you, there's some interesting. I'll send this to you on X. I don't know if we'll get dinged if we play it, but that's
a good question from Shelly Olmsted there, Heidi. Yeah, the not Oliver Cowdery. What's the dude's name? I always forget.
Sidney Rigdon.
Sidney Rigdon, thank you, ma'am. Sidney Rigdon became from the Miller Campbellite movement. So he took his whole congregation with him to join the Mormons in Kirtland. So most of the early Mormons were Millerites. Yeah,
okay. Sure. Very interesting.
And they have the same apocalyptic mindset, right? With these ancient alien cargo cult apocalyptic stuff. So
yeah, 100%. And I sent you that video that it's pretty cool. I don't know. It's only like 1 minute 46, I think, seconds
on email or
on IG. I sent it to IG. I can send it.
No, I'll get it. It's fine.
Okay, cool.
So what are the Tanners doing here with this book?
Right, the Tanners book. I think they were exposing some really fun stuff.
Because I've read their other book, but this one they wrote is the book Brigham Young tried to destroy. Joseph Smith,
he did
by his mother.
So 100% this happened. What it was, this book is her flex basically on Brigham and basically saying, you're going to pay me some money because I've now lost my entire family, and you are going to make it right by me if you're going to, on top of it, still the church. So she wrote this book, and it was kind of her way of sticking it to Brigham, but she left little pieces out, like the things that I told you before, like Dr. Nathan Smith was obfuscated some way. I think she just called him Dr. Nathan, so it wouldn't lead back to Dartmouth. And she did these little things so that she could kind of nail him for money, and he did pay up, just FYI. But I will say this, it caused a huge rift between Sidney Rigdon and Brigham Young because it was never supposed to see the light of day. He took the copies that were supposedly available at the time from Mother Smith when he agreed to pay her to kind of shut up, and he put them in the vault or burned them. This is noted. This is like a real thing that happened between them. And Sidney Rigdon edited the book, felt it was important enough, and he took it to England to have it published. This is what really happened. It was kind of a little scandalous back in the day.
I saw that. He printed it in Liverpool, it looks like. Orson Pratt, it said, did, right?
Yep, he was also involved. And if you look up Orson Pratt, you'll understand why. Because if you want to find a treasure trove of fantastic things, you want to look at things Orson Pratt has said, because boy, does he talk about other people and other worlds, and he doesn't mix words about it. It's like specific. So yeah, super funny stuff there.
So not funny, like there's a lot of folks that have been writing books in recent years about Jason. Oh, I'm sorry, Heidi, go ahead.
Oh, I said not funny, haha, funny like ooh, weird. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're clearly drawing some small circles around some of this hidden history regarding these matters.
Oh, but yeah.
Jason Mack's a new one for me, so I have to look more into that. But I see other folks have written on the subjects in recent years.
Oh, yes. I barely am starting down this little rabbit trail. As I've said, Old World Micmac gets all the credit for that. And he's been sending me little things that are very interesting. You guys should check out his page and check out his videos, because the story in the Book of Mormon about how the boats are shaped kind of like flying saucers. Remember this? Like that they were weird shaped. Guess what? Right. It's a Micmac tradition. It's a Micmac story. Very strange indeed. Very strange.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me because, again, the Micmacs go back to the Templar as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, they interbred. So there was a war. This was, now I haven't verified this, people, but from Old World Micmac, he sent me the information that the Acadians, we go back to New Brunswick, were intermarrying with the Micmac and having children, as myself. So I know this one's true. Because I am one of those children long down the line. The Acadians and the Micmacs start to have children so that they can fight against, and have them not destroy these people completely, because they did with the other previous Native Americans that lived there. I can't remember their name. Not the Mi'kmaq. There's another one. But anyways,
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the British move the Acadians down to what is now Louisiana, and they interbred with the society folks from the France that came over here and set up in Louisiana?
Well, so I guess this is also just hearsay at this moment, but they actually really encouraged any of these new people that were coming in from France, or any of these Mormons, especially the ones with different bloodlines that were kind of more royal bloodlines, which we spoke about a lot, to marry into native tribes for the gifts that they knew the people possessed, much like indigo children. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of Cherokee in my tree. That makes a lot of sense with the Scots Irish when they came here.
And the Fronten line is the Frontaine line when you go back to the Micmac, which is what somebody's asked me here. So yes, that is the same line. Yeah. And they did marry, I have the actual name, but yeah. So that would be like one of my great grandmas. And actually Old World Micmac sent me a photo of her, which was really nice of him today. So I've been running all over today, or I'd have this better. I was telling JJ, I just got off another show like 5 minutes before I hit the show.
Oh, you're good, Heidi. You're good. Jonah's got a good comment. Maybe Jonah, can you post a link for that?
Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. Again, I mean, Jason Mack sounds like an interesting character to look into, right?
Awesome.
Did you want to watch that movie or that clip?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that clip. The movie.
I think people will think it's quite interesting.
Minute 46. I call it a movie.
It's not quite.
There's copper scrolls are 20,000 years old. They've been dated. And it took me 42 years to decipher even 15% of it, maybe less than that. Why are they hard to decipher? Because they're in a different language. They're in a vibrational language that you read it with a wet finger, and you're taught that chant, and you chant it over and over and over until that almost like Braille. When you go over it, you feel a slight tingle on your fingers, and you keep translating that in picture forms in your, it's not even your mind, outside your mind. So when I run my hands over, there's a probably 4,000, 5,000 flips, I would call them. They're triangles, and they have different symbolism on it. So you touch the symbolism, it brings you into a library. And the Copper Scrolls gives us instructions on technology, history, timelines, inverted timelines, different math to calculate those timelines. They explain about different physics, about 140 different ways of doing math. The Copper Scrolls, we don't think they're from here. The Copper Scrolls have been mentioned through the Bible, through a lot of the ancient texts. The Mormons have part of the Copper Scrolls. I'm offering teachings that's 20,000 years old. And all I need, I don't need money, just people to listen.
That's wild, Heidi. I've never heard that before.
There was one more piece, I think, before that little ad. Did it say the Mormons had some of them? I think it got to that point.
Yeah, it said that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, it did. Good. Sorry, I was posting that guys page in the comments because I love to give credit where credit's due, and it wasn't my credit. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah,
I'll make sure he goes in the show notes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. He sent me that. And then when I looked this Copper Scroll stuff up, and it also has another video speaking about how the Micmac use seer stones as well to help them decipher. Like, no shit. That's exactly what I said. I can find that one and send it. I almost fell off my chair. I was like, wow, we got golden plates and seer stones. Okay, we're right there.
You ain't kidding.
Okie doke. Yeah, wild. So wild. So that was my day today. I woke up to like 4 different things that were really cool, but also whoa. Yeah.
Well, again, every time we talk, Heidi, I have these same responses of you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously, you know, we assume these ideas came from somebody besides Joseph, and they predated him, and they're just passed down. And it sounds like you're getting a lot closer to finding out where some of those come from.
Well, one thing's for sure, I'm annoying enough not to let it go. Huh. So that's too bad for them, but what do you do? You get to the end of it all and they can quit lying, and that would be fun.
Right. Well, you brought up some really interesting dynamics. And, as many people want to talk about RFK murders and all these other things, and I've listened and digested a lot of information on the topic, and even in our discussions, we've exchanged new ideas regarding this murder, because you didn't know about Howard Lowenstein and a lot of the process stuff around that, and I didn't have a clue about all the Hughes connections to Double Sirhan, Mr. Process himself.
I had no idea about any of the connections with Society of Cincinnati before JJ and I started talking. And then that opened up a whole nother level. Like, it was wild. It was just, whoa. Yeah.
So before we get into the occult genealogy,
don't worry. I always like your stuff.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we get into the occult genealogy of Howard Hughes, let's discuss some of that. What are his connections to all this Mormon business, the Watergate stuff, the RFK situation, stuff we've discussed in the past shows we've done together, but let's bring some folks up to speed if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. So, with Howard Hughes, they like to also obfuscate with this, is they will say his nursemaids were always Mormon, and they'll just say it like that. No, they're not nursemaids. These are people running his business on the actual board of Summa Corporation. And Bill Gay is the guy you want to look at for that. And that is his name. I can't help it. But he continues with his money and legacy through today. And if anybody watches The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, you'll know this last name Gay, because Heather Gay is on that show because she's married to his grandson. And this money continues throughout, like, this whole situation. Yep, this is the one. And very rarely do they shed any light on him whatsoever. And I definitely feel like that is because he was such an important part of the story, where we're talking about Onassis. We're going to talk about buying politicians. We can talk about all this stuff. And especially with Nixon, you're going to find that the Mormon mafia, not my coin term, people laugh about it all the time, but it is what they called it, I believe, in actually a Playboy article. Woo, scandalous.
Right.
Yeah, coin term there. So weird thing is, he is behind a lot of this, though he was only an errand boy. He ends up actually in charge of almost Howard Hughes's whole empire. And even though Howard Hughes was doing all this dirty politician buying and different things, he actually, bye Jeremy, get better. He actually had a huge piece of the puzzle with putting all these Mormons in positions, and even to the bankers that were backing him at that time in Las Vegas, completely corporatizing everything and kind of kicking the mob out of Las Vegas over it, because it all went mainstream. So
right.
And that was,
these are all very important characters in this whole, parapolitical saga. And it's weird to find the Mormons so entrenched with Hughes. At least on its face, it is, right? But when we start looking at where Hughes came from and where the Mormons came from, well, it seems they both might be Society of Cincinnati.
Well, and I thought about it, and I should have sent this to you earlier. Definitely with Mayhew would probably be Society of Cincinnati, I'm assuming. Bob Mayhew. And I would also wonder.
I'll add him to the list, ma'am. I haven't looked yet, but I'll definitely add him to the list.
Yeah. Bill Mayhew.
Well, he was OSS, right?
Yes. And also Maheu, I believe it is, because I don't have my notes right here. But also the other one we need to look at is E. Perry Thomas, because E. Perry Thomas is the banker funding all of this, who just happens to be, a paratrooper for the OSS in the war. So just saying. And a Mormon. Of course he's Mormon, but
typical.
Whatever. Yeah, typical. So yeah, they weren't people that they want to just blame this off to, like, this is just nursemaids. No. And these are the people that continued his legacy on after he was dead. We don't know when he really died, but whatever that story is, So,
right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have
to Shelley's point, I wouldn't want to be on that bad side either.
Of course, we have JFK Jr.'s dad, who kidnaps Howard Hughes, right?
Yeah, that picture really is worth 1,000 words. I think we almost have to throw it up there. I'll have to find it and send it to you while we're chatting, because I never thought anything of that until I saw their pictures side by side as young men. If you put up a picture of him young, I think you'll probably be able to get that's actually a really great one that you have right there, but I'll find that other one too.
Well, I was going to say, this is not a Kennedy man we're looking at right here. You know what I mean? JFK Jr.
Oh, they just want to lie and say it's because of the grandpa, right?
Well,
that it's
there he
all
is.
about
there he is with
blackjack.
Daddy Aristotle right there.
Well, I think, in my opinion, they had to do what they did in a quick hurry because of the fact that, kids that are Italian or Greek or whatever, when they're born, they're kind of blondish, but then things start to change. So he was about at that age when his dad passed away. So
right.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Right. I'll try.
Did you have that comparison picture? Because I can't find it.
I'm gonna send it. Yeah, I'm gonna look. Because it's just too good. Like, literally side by side, it was a complete accident that I even seen that or found it, because I was doing something else and I thought, oh my gosh, they really, that is the one. And then there's another one where you can literally compare their lips and everything. But that's the one that I used with JFK Jr.'s. If we can put one.
I mean, it's a spitting image.
Really, honestly, it's a lot. Yeah. So, and I did not mean to find
it's like Gavin Newsom and his SS officer father, who decided he wanted to be a Mormon later in life.
Boy, oh boy, isn't it always that?
This was I knew of this dude because of his Mormon stuff. I never looked at a picture of him. And then Jonah, troublemaker Jonah, there in the chat, brings it up to me one day. He says, "You ever seen Gavin Newsom's dad?" And then sends me this picture. I'm like, "Oh shit, boy. Dude! I know who that is. That's Otto von Bolschwing. And it looks just like Gavin."
That's so weird. Yeah, they hide everything.
Well, this is supposed to be Gavin Newsom's father, and Otto von Bolschwing.
He's a full foot.
Yeah. Well, okay. Willie Newsom and Otto von Bolschwing were business partners for the Gettys.
Yeah. Well, so the story goes where you bring up Aristotle Onassis, that at towards the end of life, Onassis got the Mormon mafia to flip out on Hughes, and supposedly, like, I don't know, but they say that they took him to the island of Scorpios and that people saw him there, and that they saw him with Jackie, an old man, very tall, very frail, in a wheelchair. And so I'm like, okay, well, this all gets into project, the Gemstone Files and different. It's just very strange. I'm going to find that photo.
Let's also consider this, Heidi. You brought this to my attention. Jack Bouvier, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, right? JFK Jr.'s mother.
Yes.
Right? The widow of JFK, right? It seems like he dies in 1957. So it seems like old JFK Jr. was born into the society.
I dare say that as well. And what's wild is also, okay, so we've got Onassis supposedly having these two kids, right? These boys, not Christina, but the boys both die in plane crashes. Don't you find that kind of strange?
Oh, well, for sure. But I also find it kind of strange, or I don't think for a second that Onassis isn't leveraging his son, who may be a dual member of both the French chapter and the Maryland chapter of the Society of Cincinnati, to engage in whatever weird parapolitical nonsense that's going on.
Right. Yeah. It makes one wonder for sure what exactly is happening there, And I mean, as we've been shown time and time and time again, let's see, I've got that pulled up. I might just share it from my computer rather than send it, because it might be easier that way. But we see time and time again them annihilating and getting rid of all of these people. So strange.
Well, I mean, it provides context to these other matters, right? And these more, again, it's a history we don't understand, like we're describing with the Mormon history or the society history. These are matters that are not privy to us common folk, if you will, us profane, as they say, within these secret societies. I saw a statement earlier. Yeah, these secret societies, especially the Society of Cincinnati, are happy to fight amongst themselves and not include anyone else in it, just like they did in the old world, right?
There we go. Okay, if you want to share that, I have that pulled up.
Sure. 1 second, please.
You're good. But when people see this, I want them to visually look at the bridge of his nose, the the little piece on his lip here. Hopefully I can do it with my cursor here and show this when you're ready. Just let me know because I can't see you.
Oh, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Can you see the photo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So see this little divot here above the lip, and it looks like a perfect
You want to zoom in just a
triangle?
little bit?
Uh-huh.
Just to see it better? About halfway, maybe? There you go.
There we go.
Perfect.
And so look at this bridge of the nose. I mean, this is like almost identical right here.
For sure.
Of course, he has mother's eyes. That looks like Jackie. Okay. But this divot here on the lip and this divot here on the lip is nearly identical. I mean, it is so close. The hairline is also what gets me. Here's a little divot here. Here's a little divot here. Comes up and over, then in again, almost like a little calic. And look right here, boop, boop, calic. And so I'm just saying, like, it's real close. Like, this is, if you didn't know and you hadn't been told your whole life that this wasn't the case, I mean, would you think these people are related? You know?
Oops, sorry about that.
Yeah,
no, I
you're
totally
good.
agree with you. I totally agree with you. I was bringing up a young JFK just to show that this man's
I'm gonna
not
stop
Kennedy.
sharing there.
This is obviously a Greek heritage man there we're looking at with JFK Jr., not this man's son, right?
No, look at that. Now his daughter, if you pull up a picture of Caroline, really, you know, she looks like him and she looks like a Kennedy, whereas, you know, the other one just doesn't. And we know this. We know that right before Kennedy dies, and I haven't done my Onassis bit yet. I'm waiting for one more book because I did not know the piece of leather I was going to chew when I started Onassis. I had no idea it was going to be so intense, right? And she looks like she looks like
the Kennedys have a very specific look, especially the women and the men too. I mean, JFK does not share those qualities. However, if Jackie's father, as we know, was a Society of Cincinnati member, he had no sons. His eldest grandson was indeed JFK Jr. Well, it puts his whole life into a different context. It puts that magazine he started in 1990 when he started aiming for politics. The magazine George puts that into context too, I think, as well.
Yes, 100%. Well, and it also shows us time and time again that, you know, they'll do anything, including get rid of their own kids. I find it fascinating that this whole situation right before the assassination in the fall, right before he dies, Jackie loses another baby, and Jack had been known to be extensively rude and a jackass as far as when these babies died. Well, Patrick was born and he had hyaline membrane disease and died because he was early and his lungs were not developed yet. So he dies, and what happens is her sister is dating Onassis at that time, and she says, "Come with me on the Christina, the yacht, and get away." And then he like literally gets shot right after this. It's like, I think it's what, 8 weeks or something after she gets off the boat, and she goes by herself. And people say he definitely treated her like his wife already on that trip for Onassis. So yeah, made his claim on that
we're
one.
sold these things, right? We're sold these narratives. I mean, we know JFK had some sexual proclivities for the other side, if you know what I mean.
With all of the sides, I think he was he was into all the things. I would hate to see any sheep around him, for heaven's sakes.
Right. So this is Lem Billings. It's his private school roommate, and he also later in life would have a room at the White House still for some reason.
Yep, and slept in there with him often.
Weird.
Very, very strange. And look, I don't care what you want to do, but I'm sure this upset his wife, you know. So,
well, again, we're sold. They're a political marriage, it seems, in all respects.
Very.
Again, they're both doing their own thing, if you will, right?
Oh, for sure. But he was super pissed when she did that. He actually called her on the yacht and said, "I don't care if you have to swim, get off that boat." So it got a little hairy.
Well, but that's about optics though, right?
And he also said when Arabella died, which was their first child together, he was told to go back to support his wife. And he said, "What do you want me?" He literally is quoted to RFK saying, "What do you want me to do about it? The baby's dead." So, yeah.
No, I mean, again, we're
They're
sold
just
these
friends,
narratives.
Lucy.
We're
They're just friends.
well, yeah, those are some loving eyes they got going on for each other,
Oh
Heidi.
my gosh! Right?
I got a lot of close dudes in my life, my brothers, if you will, from my military years and whatnot.
Yeah,
and I
not
never
that
held
close.
those dudes and looked in their eyes like that.
No. I'm glad you didn't. That would be. I think you might get punched.
And again, in what world would this dude have a room at the White House?
Why is he there all the time? Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and there's some really horrible, like I said, how he treated his wife about having their child die and all kinds of different things. They had separate bedrooms. He deflowered one of the aides that was a girl, virgin, on her bed, all kinds of really crass stuff. I'm not saying that JFK by any means didn't have his own issues, but I'm just saying, she had some of her own. So people want to hold her in this high pariah. Like, they get pissed when I talk about her. Oh, by the way, at the end of her life, when she was an editor and she was working and doing her book stuff, she worked for a Mormon. So that's fun. I'll find his name. There's photos of them. They're chummy. Yeah, they're chummy.
Well, she's
They
surrounded
look
by
like they're
Project
dating.
Paperclip too, right? Because her godfather is George de Mohrenschildt.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he helped her from age of 8 and on. He was her horse trainer, like teaching her how to ride jockey or whatever she was doing there. And I don't even want to know. But
yeah, but you can't
whatever.
convince me this guy is anything but Italian or Greek, because that ain't Black Irish. You know what I mean?
100%. I mean, come on. Let's get real. He looks too much like that other photo. I mean, you need to show. Somebody's talking about John Travolta, and you need to show that picture.
Oh, well, I got
me.
I got that one on deck for you, Heidi.
Oh yeah, that one threw me for a loop. Oh my gosh, Sylvester Stallone's son. Can I just do it again? Let's see. Here's the hairline. I mean, if that doesn't seal the deal, I don't know what does.
Right. Well, Travolta's been bald since he's been in his 20s.
Well, that's a widow's peak. Yeah, that widow's peak there is so hereditary.
He's been losing that hairline. This guy passed away by his late 20s.
Kid.
So, we didn't get to see his hair go. But I assume we would have seen the same balding effect going on, right?
We wouldn't get to see it because it would be too much. There would be figuring out about. So
right. Yeah. So they were good friends back then. They were Travolta. It doesn't really
seem
good,
like apparently.
Well, I think Stallone, because due to his agent, and he had in the 70s when he was doing that weird porn stuff as the Italian Stallion. Well, it seems like his agent, who was a Scientologist agent, she and a friend of Cocaine Bob's, she seems like maybe Stallone's Scientology roots go back. So he directs the film Staying Alive, starring John Travolta. I believe it's 1984. He's the director and choreographer for the film. It's real weird. I'm sure he kept greasing up Travolta the entire time. So who knows what these folks are into again, right? But that's clearly his son. That you cannot tell me that's Sylvester Stallone's son.
They are, look, when we talk about this stuff, like, I can't help but go back to John D and Sigil Magic and wife swapping. And that's what it is, man. That's what it is. Like, probably nobody even knew,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
no
and
kidding.
then we have folks like Ronan Farrow, who's clearly, I mean, they called Frank Sinatra Mr. Blue Eyes, right? Or whatever they called him. And we see Ronan Farrow and they try to tell us that this is Woody Harrelson's son. And come on now, right? Come on.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Well, and
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
No.
I mean, Sinatra was married to Mia Farrow, right? I mean, we know that. I mean, it's not like, again, who knows what weird sexual activities these folks are into, especially Woody Allen right there, right? I might have said Woody Harrelson before. Woody Allen, who marries his daughter, his adopted daughter. Well, he didn't legally adopt her, but he grew up as her father. Mia Farrow legally adopted her, right? But that ain't his son either. There's just so much weird shit going on around here. That's why I like to play the game. Who is your daddy and what does he do? And,
who's your daddy?
On that note, let's play that game for this week. This week there,
Woo!
Heidi.
Who's your dad?
Tell me, who is your daddy and what does he do?
Oh.
So I don't know what your thoughts are.
Oh,
George mother there, Barbara Pierce Bush, right?
oh,
What's up?
they definitely look the same.
Right. So it's described that her father is a fellow by the name of Marvin Pierce. Right. And let me show you a picture of Marvin. Oh, it's just as ridiculous as the rest of these characters. Like that ain't Woody Allen's son. That clearly ain't Sylvester Stallone's son, and that ain't Willie Newsom's son. That's Otto von Bolschwing Jr. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. And that is a man. Oh, Barbara is a man. That's a man.
Well,
man.
you know, I think there's an
know.
argument to be made there too, right? You know, with all these other lies, why not, right? Why not?
Who knows? That's supposedly daddy.
Yeah. Well, here's on that note, Heidi, try to find a picture of George Bush #2's wife pregnant.
Oh, really?
You can find her with the little twins, but you can't find her pregnant. Same with Michelle Obama.
They're saying. Always messing around. Always. Well, and it's it's sex magic. I mean, they practice this forever, and then whoever gets the kid gets the kid. It happened to John D. too. He had to raise Edward Kelly's kid. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That really did happen.
But we've talked about a lot of this hidden heritage just in our own family trees.
Oh yeah. Oh, Barbara.
So that's Barbara Pierce Bush, right?
Yeah.
George Bush #1's wife, allegedly her husband, whatever. Well, we got Macron over there right now. Emmanuel Macron, the secret Rothschild. He's apparently married to his husband, father, wife. So who knows, right? Who knows with these people?
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Are you familiar when they redid the Notre Dame Cathedral over there? That's the Knights Templar facility. The treasurer for the Templars is who was the bishop there, or whatever, the man of the cloth, whatever they call it, when they built that. Old Mr. Mrs. Macron, the husband man wife of the
husband wife.
Yeah. The husband. I'm sorry, the husband father wife. There you go. Emmanuel Macron's married to his wife, husband, father. There we go. So
scary,
creepy as can be, but it's what we're talking about here, right? It's not that out of the realm of possibility. This is a man, and we're looking into a situation we can demonstrate, such as that the current president of France is married to a man who's posing as a woman who's actually his father.
Ugh. That's right? A man. Yeah.
And they're a secret Rothschild family known as the Trogno chocolate family, which would make sense because Emmanuel Macron was the youngest Rothschild banker, head of the Rothschild Bank in France. So, and he didn't know anything about banking either. That's demonstrated as well. The other bankers were like, this guy doesn't know a thing. Right? He's a moron. So his husband's father wife wanted to put a giant, literally not an obelisk, a giant golden dick on top of the Notre Dame Cathedral. I'm not making that up. I'll find a clip here.
Really?
True story.
Oh boy.
These people are sick, Heidi. We're contemplating these ideas, and they're often discussed within our perception of the world, what we've been taught as how the world operates, and with our own ethics and morals. And I would say you got to think how they think, and these people are sick.
Oh, 100% for sure. Well, you were talking about different families marrying in on purpose. I don't know if you know who the only surviving child from the marriage of Christina Onassis, who she married and had a baby with. Do you?
Please tell me.
Terry Russell, Roussel, and he's like, their family is huge, big, like super. He's a French businessman. His family is very interesting. I've just barely been looking at it, and let me tell you, it's interesting. And she's never had any children. She has been married. And here's a weird one for you guys. Both Jackie and Christina lived on the Christina, the yacht, which is fantastic if you want to pull anytime. Well, after we talk about this. But anyways, this boat is fantastic. As soon as Aristotle dies, nobody wants anything to do with it, and they let it sit and rot. And they let it do that because they tried to give it to Greece, and they didn't even want it. Nobody wants this giant yacht, and it's like this gorgeous, like it's beautiful, really. And I thought, well, maybe it's because of the maintenance money. No, he had an allotment for the maintenance and everything, so it would have been nothing off their ass to like keep it, okay? But neither one of them set foot on it ever again. What the hell happened there? That's a little weird.
That's it.
Yes, it's back in. So later on, somebody did end up restoring it to its glory. Really cool lapis. What's it called? Lapis lazuli fireplace. Oh, Nasus knew some shit, but anyway, he's part of the Dark Illuminati. Like, that's the whole thing. But I will say, yeah, very strange that they never put on it again.
But that's a good point, because they do always seem to intermarry, right? With these, with these powerful families and whatnot, keeping the bloodlines.
It's all arranged
for money and for property, real estate, right?
Well, and her husband was French too. That one was French, so that's why it sprung my interest when you were talking about Macron, the wife husband.
Oh well. On that note, man, here we go. I got a clip for us here. Do that, and boom.
So once the couple moved into Élysée Palace, that's the French White House, weird scandals began to follow them. For example, for whatever reason, it became known to the public that Brigitte Macron, who fancies herself something of a designer, wanted to install an erect penis with golden balls to become the new spire for the Notre Dame Cathedral. Yes, you heard me correct. Here is a headline in the Daily Mail to back that up. Brigitte Macron backed an erect phallus with golden balls as the new spire for the Notre Dame Cathedral, France's former culture minister claims. This is not a conspiracy. The former minister of culture was Roselyne Bachelot. She openly admitted that Brigitte Macron adversed her modern designs in January of 2021. That's a theme. Brigitte likes freaky art. That's just what she's into. Just like when they moved into the Élysée Palace, she got right to work redesigning things that had meaning to her. Art has meaning. Just one example.
Is it because she wants one or because she has one?
Right, or maybe she chopped hers off and she misses it.
Right. That could be. Right. That could be very true. Ugh.
So
either way, no.
I just want to play that because these people are disgusting. So we should consider that when we consider all these weird heritages, their activities, and what they're doing, etc. But we see Crowley wrote about in his journals of these sex magic rituals with his roommates in France and Paris in 1924. We know Pauline Pierce, the mother, Barbara Pierce Bush, right? George Bush, #1's wife, George Bush, #2's presumably mother. It could be a mother-father situation. We're not sure, right? Her mother was indeed in the same home with another lady, her friend, this O'Hara lady, Nellie O'Hara. And we see Crowley writing about the sex magic rituals. She's there until October of 1924. And Barbara Pierce is born 8.5 months later when she returns.
Wow. Well, so
you tell me, Heidi, you tell me, did she get pregnant by this Marvin Pierce fellow the moment she got back, or did
just saying? Right. Yeah. It sounds to me like there was a situation there. Yep. Kind of like Hitler's.
That's
right?
a good one. What were we saying?
Wow. I said it's sort of like Hitler's daddy, right?
Well, again, all these people, right? We go through these things and we're told these matters are one way, but time after time, we're seeing that that ain't the case.
Oh, no. So strange.
So
yeah, no.
Speaking of Howard Hughes, we know who his daddy is, but it's actually his mother's daddy that seems to be interesting, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because he's a descendant of this interesting character from the New Jersey chapter of the Society of Cincinnati. So Howard Hughes is descended from almost every branch of his tree as a member of the Society of Cincinnati, but it does seem that he's most probably the hereditary member of this fellow. Through his mother. Much like JFK Jr. through his mother, right? Through his mother. Much like Jack Bouvier through his mother and her mother. It went through 2 mothers to get to him in the
Wow.
Maryland chapter.
Well, they definitely succeeded there. Holy cow. Hughes.
Well, it paints a narrative here. We wonder why Hughes is so interconnected to the Mormons. He's not a Mormon, but the Mormons are society and he's society.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, but money. And I mean, who knows if he was secretly.
Well, how do you think he
Mormon?
got the contracts though, Heidi, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. And the 3-letter agencies for sure. All of it. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I just want to comment for old Twizzlestick there. So, and not every U.S. president was a member of Freemasonry, but every U.S. president has been a member of the Society of Cincinnati. So, it's interesting because they do claim that the last honorary member of U.S. president being appointed as an honorary member by virtue of being U.S. president was George Bush #1. They say Clinton, Bush #2, Obama, Trump, and Biden were not. These are the emails I receive. And at least they've updated their Wikipedia page to correspond with the emails they send me.
So Trump isn't
Society,
then,
that
huh?
is. This
That's
is, at least they tell me their name. Like I have respectful communications with the folks that send me these things, and sometimes they tell me I'm wrong, like that Massachusetts business, right? They're like, "You better check the dates there, bud." And when they cut it off, I'm like, "Oh, cool. I'll double check that," and I'm happy to correct where I'm wrong on these matters.
Right, but not often because we do a lot of research. We're not just chucking stuff out here to see if it will stick. That's for sure.
Oh, no. And I mean, I'm happy to show folks. I don't want to like blast everyone's family tree on the interwebs, but I'm happy to show folks the original members like this fella right here, John Allen Gano. So he was a very integral member. He was a chaplain out of the Jersey.
Wow.
So, and I say Jersey's interesting because do you remember the guy who wrecked that submarine going to look for the Titanic?
Oh yeah,
Stockton Rush III.
The rich guy. Yeah.
Well, he was the 3rd or 4th great grandson of Benjamin Rush, the signatory of the Declaration of Independence, and he was the Surgeon General for the chapter out of New Jersey. But then he got appointed the overall Surgeon General for the Army, and then he pulled a coup on George Washington. That is. So that Jersey chapter is interesting because Jersey was full of loyalists, including Ben Franklin's son, who was the governor loyalist of New Jersey.
Huh. It doesn't ever cease to amaze me at this point. And I'll tell you something, and it's going to be coming out in a show soon. I got to stay off the damn family search. I went camping, got bored, and I'm doing a show soon. And I'm like, I wonder, every bad idea starts with that. But I look up on there, and I should have known better because, my family history's got some weird stuff already. I feel you
on that one, ma'am. Feel you on that one.
John D is apparently my 15th great uncle, like the John D. And I was like, this is just screwed up. I'm not going to look anymore. I'll probably still look.
Well,
but
on that note, let's review some other matters of these occult things. Because like I said, I've been learning a lot more and looking at more of this occult genealogy to try to understand what is going on in this world. And
yes,
I believe you've heard me talk about, we were talking about JFK being a member of the society because he's the president. His father-in-law, right, although dead in 1957, was a member of the society out of the Maryland chapter, at least, Jack Bouvier, and possibly the French chapter. Well, Lee Harvey Oswald appears to be a hereditary member of the Society of Cincinnati via his 3rd great grandfather out of the Georgia chapter, a Major Joseph Oswald.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Right.
Wow.
And we find old Lee Harvey there in a very interesting Civil Air Patrol unit in 1954 in New Orleans, right? I got
there's
a picture.
Good picture. Yeah, there's a good one of him in there because I think it's more than a friendship. I don't,
Well, you have David Ferry as the Civil Air Patrol commander in that unit, right? The wandering bishop fellow in the JFK investigation of Jim Garrison and the whole assassination business around JFK, right?
Oh,
you have George DeMornshield as Lee Harvey Oswald's CIA kind of handler there, right? And he again is the godfather to Jackie Kennedy since she was 7.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah. and like 100% involved in her life, like in a bunch of different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and folks should go check out that show that you did. That was some that was a real barn burner you brought to my attention there, ma'am, with that stuff.
Yes, I have all of them on my channel. If anybody wants to go see the Mormon Mafia, pretty fun.
So we see this picture, right? We see Lee Harvey Oswald in here, right? Far right. We see David Ferry second from the left. He was the unit leader there for the Civil Air Patrol this is actually Baton Rouge in 1955. Also in this group is Barry Seal, the infamous drug smuggler of the Medellin Coke during Iran-Contra in Amina, Arkansas. 20th Special Forces Group as well. So Barry Seal's third great-grandfather was a Captain William Seal out of the North Carolina chapter of the Society, the Cincinnati. Now, I think that's fascinating already that you have these two characters and Lee Harvey Oswald being a society member, being involved in this whole JFK thing, but you have these two members there along with David Ferry. But it gets weirder because if you look at Barry Seal's cousin, well, his fourth cousin Seal was Jimmy Carter, another member of the Society of Cincinnati by virtue of being president. And Lee Harvey Oswald's third cousin once removed, so his father's third cousin Oswald, from that same Major Joseph Oswald, the original member out of Georgia, was Teddy Roosevelt, another member of the Society. So Oswald's father appears to be a member at the same time Teddy's father does. Their third cousin's Oswald. One's a hereditary member. The other one's an honorary member, meaning Teddy doesn't pass down his membership, but his third cousin Oswald does. So I think that might cause some beef. What do you think?
I would definitely say, wow, we need to do this same thing for the Bay of Pigs. We need to find a few more people like surrounding that as well, because that has a lot to do with the Howard Hughes business. So
thank you, Dr. Corbeau. That's a wild fun fact I was unfamiliar with.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Dr. Corbeau's always got some fun facts.
Thank you. Wow.
Marge Schott Marge Schott was not in the Society of Cincinnati Reds. That's a good one though. I like it. She was a Nazi though, if you remember that business. She was a big fan of Hitler. They made her sell the team over it. They made her sell the team over it to 33rd degree Freemason Carl Linder.
Well, you know, that kind of happened to JFK's daddy. Now, he was a little too sympathetic to the Nazis as well and got removed from his post over in Great Britain and had to come home because he was actually there as a political liaison type situation for a national something. And they sent him home because he also was a little too on the side of the Germans. So...
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of Nazi stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And the only person that made it out of all of the war without any sunken ships at the time, even though they were sending a lot of things back and forth still needed, especially in war times, one of which is oil. Right.
Let me guess. Was it Onassis?
It sure was. So, you know, whatever.
And it is Onassis, JFK Jr.'s pops, his daddy, that allegedly kidnaps Howard Hughes, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And supposedly, like I said, he's behind the whole takeout of Hughes. And supposedly he takes over the entire empire of Hughes. And this happened because, the Mormon Mafia turned on him and helped execute that. And it was mainly through a guy that no one ever hears of. I brought him up before. Oh, I can't remember his name right now. It is on my episodes, but it'll come to me. And remember, we couldn't find anything on him. It was like but he was definitely in 3-letter agencies. So.
Refresh my memory, ma'am. What was it?
I'm trying to remember his name right now.
What was the subject matter?
Notes. He was the one that kind of kidnapped Hughes basically and executed that whole move where they put him over in the Bahamas, and then he was never set foot back in America till he died, you know. So James O. Golden. That's right. And according to that, that's was it the skeleton key to the, what's it called again now? Like that that is the gemstone file.
The skeleton key to the gemstone file. These storylines are,
but not Golden's.
kind of.
Yeah. Golden's was from another that piece was confirmed through another book, because gemstone is so controversial.
But the gemstone is what explains these entire matters, right? And the skeleton key to the gemstone was another document.
But they say it's a lie. Yeah, and it's totally. I mean, it's.
But all the facts bore out, though, don't they?
Oh, so many align.
Yeah,
so many.
That's what I'm saying. You can call it a lie, but then when you look at the facts and the details, you're like, well, that happened and that happened and that happened. So how was this a lie?
Right, exactly. And that book, I believe, for the golden piece, came from Howard Hughes, The Hidden Years. I believe that is the book, if I remember off the top of my head. I've read like 6 books on him now, because I went down a big rabbit hole there. But the Onassis thing was even worse. The Onassis, I thought this would be a very simple, like not that hard of an episode. No, it's going to be a long one. Yeah.
Speaking of spooky Nazis, you familiar with this guy?
No. Who's this? He's
mentioned in the gemstone file. He was also a business partner of Spiro Agnew, the vice president there in the whole Watergate situation, right, with Nixon. He was a Nazi going back to the World War II years, doing a lot of spook stuff around the world for spooky business. But he was a banker at the time, and he is speaking of weird plane crashes. Him and his whole family died there in '77.
Well, the same banker for Onassis was the banker for the Nazis. I can't remember the name, but I'll find it. But yeah, this kind of stuff is constant. And Howard Hughes was known to be horribly racist. When they told him he had to actually start employing people of color, he said, no, fix it. I'm not going to do it. So that was his answer to that. And it was a whole big ordeal. But here's the weird part of it, too, is that he's obsessed at this point. It's not just the weird, like, money exchanges, like him buying off Nixon through his brother, which, he gave him a loan that never had to be paid back, which isn't a loan. It's a bribe. But that all happened absolutely through John Meyer, not Johnny Meyer. There are 2, John Meyer, Age of Secrets, super great book on this whole Howard Hughes business, and he's still alive, I believe, or if he did pass, it's recent. So yeah, got to check that one.
You'll have to send me the links to some of these books that I'm trying to keep up with.
Awesome.
I'm bringing them up here, but
yeah, for sure,
I'm falling behind. The Spiro Mound, I never really considered that being connected to Spiro Agnew or any sort of namesake, but I don't know where the name Spiro comes from for Spiro Agnew. But the Spiro Mound's an interesting one. You ever seen that mound in Oklahoma with the Lucifer pipe?
No.
Is that familiar?
No.
No, this is an interesting. This is because there's not a lot of mounds over that way. I mean, it starts to thin out, and this was one of the strangest finds, I think, in a mound, generally speaking, as far as these ceremonial pipes go.
Weird.
But it is the Mormons and the mounds that we're talking about here tonight, too, though. So, and it's on that note, I wanted to discuss some of these matters of the nation of Deseret with you.
Oh, let's do it. That sounds fun.
So it's hilarious when you go to the Wikipedia. This is always, I like to look at Wikipedia to try to understand, the normative view on the matter, if you will. Because, a lot of folks will go to Wikipedia and that'll be the end of it, right? So we see the state of Deseret, and it never really existed except for about 6 months, et cetera. No, I'm sorry, nearly 2 years. But we know that's not accurate.
Definitely not. There's a stone that says Deseret on it there at the Washington Monument, if people want to see
that. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually not even made until 1853, that stone. So how in the world can they make a stone in 1853 for a nation that didn't exist?
Well, because we live in a nation of lies, because they hide all of history, period.
You ain't kidding. So one thing I've been talking about a lot on my podcast here, and I'm sure you've heard me mention before, Heidi, is this Idaho 4 murder situation.
Oh, yeah. I need to have you on for that. That's awesome.
I'm happy to have that discussion anytime, man. And I don't want to get into the details right now, but I do want to just point out to you that the high level of Mormon business involved in that, and a lot of the main characters involved in the narratives, the victims, one of the surviving victims, a number of the other characters, the University of Idaho president, Scott Green, his Green heritage, Dylan Mortensen, the surviving victim, her Mortensen heritage, and a couple other characters. They all go back to these pioneering Mormon families. One of the lead detectives, the Gooch, as I call her, Victoria Gooch, her husband, pioneering Mormon family, the same wagon trains, right? The Gooch's dad, though, was actually Colonel Paul Tate's U.S. Army intelligence officer protege, strangely enough.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of weird connections there, but I see all these pioneering Mormon families, and I have to again put my mindset into who these folks are and what their views on America might be. And as you can see in this map here, and these pioneering Mormon families, the Greens, the Mortensons, the Gooches, they came to a nation of Deseret, not America.
Right.
I think that's an important thing to consider when we're considering the occult. Well, throwing my pot out of my doobie here. When we consider the occult genealogy of America, you know, we have to consider that in that genealogy, their ancestors, they didn't come to America. And maybe when America came to them in 1890, 1894, depending on which part of this Deseret you're in, well, maybe they didn't want to be part of America. Maybe their grandkids and great grandkids don't want to be part of America today.
That's weird. Yeah, well, they
You know what I mean?
definitely are completely hiding all the time frame there because you're proving that over and over again. So that doesn't work.
Well, I mean, again, this is an entirely different nation, right? I mean, they had different rules and different laws and different standards, and they certainly have different views of this world. But we do also, we can look at folks like Kerry Thornley, the figure at the heart of the JFK assassination investigation by Jim Garrison. Garrison concluded that he was a spook, you know, trying to frame Oswald down there in New Orleans, doing all the spooky stuff. And again, it's a guy who knew Oswald. He knew the process, and that was another thing that interested Garrison in his investigation was Thornley's connections with the process and his Discordian society, which the first Discordian Bible was published in Jim Garrison's office, strangely enough, by one of those Discordians that infiltrated Jim Garrison's investigation, or Processians, however you want to look at it. But every one of Kerry Thornley's family tree branches, going back, I think 2 or 3 generations, are all pioneering in each branch. You know, second or third great grandfolks or so, right? Second or third great grandfolks of his were all pioneering Mormons. I'm sorry, great grandfolks or second great grandfolks of his were all pioneering Mormons in every branch. They all came from England. They all came to a nation of Deseret, not America.
That's weird. Yeah,
I think these things should be considered there, right? When we're trying to understand why these folks hate America today. Well, maybe it's just in their family.
Well, maybe it's because they had to come here, not because they chose to come here, because they were hiding a bloodline. But that's just me.
Well, there's obviously some of that. We can see that in your family tree, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, and let alone, you know, the whole story with Marie Antoinette's son and different things there. And
when did your Talbot ancestry, the secret son of the King of England, when did he come to Deseret?
I can look. Let's see when he came here, which, by the way, he never returned home, no matter what they said either.
Oh, I don't buy. I mean, I buy everything you're saying because it makes sense to me given the details. So Brigham Young, the first thing he does when he sets up Salt Lake City in this nation of Deseret is calls the chief MI6 spy for the United Kingdom.
Right. Well, he also completely is supposed to be running for his life, but yet he helped set up the railroad. Okay, cool story, bro.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, but let's just unpack that. Why would he take a meeting with the James Bond of the mid 19th century once he starts setting up this new nation, right?
Yeah, because they've been in it forever. Yeah.
Right. Well, we just see these what I perceive it as an anti-liberty aspect of the Society of the Cincinnati business, again, with the Mormons being an offshoot, Young being associated with these same bloodlines. And we see them siding with England, it seems, right? Calling in the MI6 spy for a meeting to this new nation of Deseret, hiding the son of the king and into this nation, right? Which we also see with some of your other lineage, as you mentioned, with Marie Antoinette and the Bourbon family, right?
Yes, 1820 was when he settled here, but they say it has been the subject of much speculation. But he was one of the first settlers here. So his ancestry has been the subject of much speculation. Yeah, we know.
Well, for the same reason that your ancestor, King Louis Philippe I, the Bourbon Restoration of France in 1830, was hiding out in Clermont County, Ohio, in the town founded by Major John Neville, the aide-de-camp to King Louis Philippe's cousin, Marquis de Lafayette, the leader of the French chapter of the society. And Major John Neville was the son of George Washington's aide-de-camp. So we see a close circle of these kind of higher political activities there. And we see them hiding out, who King Louis Philippe himself was a member of the society, the French chapter, but we see him hiding out under a presumed identity, being a school teacher in a town of Neville, Ohio, for about 12 years.
Well, and then all they want to do is just say it didn't happen. I mean, like that, they don't give any proof as to why not or anything. It just didn't happen. It's just like Kolob. Kolob wasn't a thing either.
Right.
No planet for you. Right.
So
it just didn't happen.
Bastille Day, when they're lopping off King Louis and Marie Antoinette and a number of society's Cincinnati generals' heads, right? King Louis Philippe was lieutenant commander there in the French chapter, and was a young man of, I believe, 21. But Marquis de Lafayette, his cousin, was, I think, 26. So he was the head of the French chapter. So, he escapes along with folks like E.I. DuPont, the DuPont family, who was a member of the French chapter, another young man who was a young officer on that day. They almost got their heads lopped off because they were trying to, help. He was trying to help his grand folks out, right? And E.I. DuPont was trying to help out the king and queen. They're the folks who sanctioned the Society of Cincinnati in the first place, right? That's why we have Marietta, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky, St. Louis. These are all namesakes from the society to the king and queen of France, who sanctioned their organization. And I think it's very interesting when we look at, we know Louis Philippe went on, he left France. We know that, but they play games, right? Where did he go, right?
For sure they do. Yeah.
Louis Philippe remained in exile for 21 years, right? I can tell you where he spent 12 of those, Claremont County, Ohio, as a school teacher under a presumed identity.
Yep. Well, and it's just the fact that every time, when you look it up and people will say, well, you're related to everybody then. And I'm like, yeah, but because when I say these things, people will say, oh, you're related to that person too. Look, they were all inbreeding, first of all.
I get that all the time.
Yeah. I'm like, it's only, you only have to be related to one royal person and then it's a mess. But like, not only does the genealogies right there on familysearch.org correlate with like all of my DNA stuff, like it's all across the board. So we know 100% they're hiding bloodlines here. And when I talk about this, it's not to be like, it's not a good thing to be related to any of these weird people because it's not good. It's not good at all. But it does show what they were doing. You don't pick
your family though, right? You know what I mean?
No. Well, I didn't even know about it till like a couple months ago. I mean, I didn't really care. I knew my grandma said something about being related to some king and that was all. And I didn't care, like I never looked into it, but she was kind of obsessed with it. And when you find this stuff out, you're like, but why is some poor farmer in Utah related to the King of England? That doesn't make any sense, but then it does. So, yeah.
Again, but we're talking about the same group of folks, the Society of the Cincinnati.
Yep. 100%. Very strange.
And to say it doesn't involve a much older argument, that's why I start when I'm looking at this occult genealogy of America, I'm starting to consider that a lot of these arguments are older than we even understand. For example, why do so many characters of the Manson family murders at the Tate Polanski house in August 8th of 1969, right? August 8th and 9th, the night of August 8th into the morning of August 9th. Why does that go back to Logan County, West Virginia? Numerous of those characters' ancestry goes back to Logan County, West Virginia, going back 150 years.
Yeah.
The detectives, the victims, the assailants. I'm not talking about just one side of this argument, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like Philip Van Adder, he wasn't the detective on the case. He was a young officer in the LAPD. He was the lead detective in the Orenthal J. Simpson case, planted a lot of evidence there. He arrested Roman Polanski in 1977 for the rape of that 13-year-old, the one that Cocaine Bob tried to clean up from Jack Nicholson's couch. A lot of process stuff there. Philip Van Adder, though, he and I are kinfolk. I have a lot of Van Adders in my clan Vance tree because his forefather Van Adder settled in southwest, what is now West Virginia, then Virginia, at a time when Abner Vance, my forefather, was settling the area. So they were one of the first folks in there. So I got a lot of Van Adders there. I'm not directly related to him, but we do have common kin.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, somebody did bring up like people are submitting and like, so what's what, but in my defense, I was a complete normie when I submitted my DNA. Sorry.
I had a lot of
Oh,
adoption issues I was trying to solve. So there was besides Abner, because Abner Vance, according to the Vance family DNA project, is the descendant of, or is closely related to the descendants of a fellow by the name of Matthew Vance and his wife Ann Jones Vance. Now, Ann Jones Vance was the first cousin of Martha Dandridge Washington, right? Dandridge Custis Washington. Her father and Martha's mother were siblings, right? And then their father was the man of the cloth for Bruton Rectory in Williamsburg, which is where the Virginia founding fathers plotted out the revolution. So, there's a lot of these families, they all do stick together too, looking at just some of these scenarios with that Jamestown situation, right? And all these people, sticking together and they're plotting things out there in that church. Anyhow, I would, I'm not related to any other Vances. That was one of my adoption mysteries. Every Vance I'm related to is from Abner, and I'm from Abner 4 times. So I can tell you, I got a lot of weird Washington mysteries. So if he's most closely related to the descendants of Matthew Vance and his wife Ann Jones Vance, who's Martha Dandridge's first cousin, well, it seems that he's most likely the son of George and Martha Washington, because Matthew Vance grew up with George.
Oh.
So these are the continued patterns of behavior we're seeing within the same group of people, the Society of Cincinnati, be it JFK Jr., be it your Bourbon family with the King Louis Philippe, be it the secret son of King George, right? Your other family, right? Why are those intermingling, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. Like, it's all completely orchestrated, and down to all the other ones, like down to Onassis, down to all these people. Like, and then it makes you really wonder, like, okay, look at Onassis's daughter doesn't ever have a kid. She still doesn't. Like, they know. Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. And like, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, I think, around these matters, not just hiding folks. Because why are they hiding folks? Right.
Well, I mean, I think that they are definitely following these lines. Number one, I think when we talk about Rex Deus, right? When we talk about Rex Deus, they say they're hiding Jesus's line, who Joseph Smith himself said he came from the bloodline of Jesus, and that he was from both tribes, the tribe of Ephraim and the tribe of Judah, that came together and made him the perfect moon child. Okay. So this is the story. Now, I don't know who the hell it was that was the Templar that he knew, but he knew some, and he was involved in some stuff that we do not fully comprehend. And they are completely want to talk about hiding family lines there. So when we look at all of that and we see that they have this story about Jesus and Mary and babies and 3 wives and different stuff. Look, we know this. They're hiding something. Whether that's the bloodline of Jesus, I don't know, but I think it's a bloodline of something. And I think they know very well, but they are checking it and making sure who has what where, right? They know which ones of us have a certain percentage of whatever the hell it is. I'm afraid to even speculate with the orphan trains and stuff. Like, it scares me because, I mean, I don't want to be a Nephilim. Like, I don't know what the hell they're hiding,
Oh, for sure. So what are we talking about? Genetic memory? Why are they keeping these bloodlines together? Besides money and power?
Yeah, it's more than that. It's never about the money. Like, yeah, they like it. But
no, there's some darker, deeper shit to this, right? There's a reason why my Appalachian family tree looks like a family pole, Heidi, and I don't know, I don't know the exact reason.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I get it. No, and there's a reason why every one of these people that supposedly talk to an entity, because I refuse to call it an angel, but every single one of these people that talk to something like that go on to start doing some weird sexual business, but oftentimes it's polygamy. And so what are they doing? Like, are they bestowing something upon them so they can go and make 1 trillion babies with their new DNA? I don't freaking know, but it's weird.
We see thousands of years of obelisks being built on top of mounds dating back to ancient Egypt and the city of Heliopolis, where those 2 obelisks, one sits in London today, the other one sits in Central Park, New York City today, moved there by folks from the Society of Cincinnati, and or families of which. And I have to ask, what is this ongoing affair with these mounds and these giant dick statues? And I have to say that it seems to be sex cults that date back millennia, and that's what we see them venerating these symbols.
Yeah. And to Gary's point, talking to salamander frogs, but actually it was just a toad, and that's more, and it turned into a man, and that would be a witch's familiar. Once again, we get into the demonic realm, but he talks about summoning these things. It's not by accident. Like, these things are brought here by himself. Like, he's summoning everything. He's the one with his parchment summoning shit, and it ain't all angels either.
Have I ever sent you this website, famous?
Mm-mm.
So you can sort by all the things here with a lot of famous folks, all the presidents, but you can go by Great Migration, royalty. So just here, all this goes back, as I say, all the society stuff is the modern day version of the Knights Templar. It's literally the paternal descendants of the Templar and their modern incarnation of knighthood, right? So it's literally the same group. Right?
Yep.
So we see that here with Washington for sure. We see that he is descendant from not only, kings of England, as you see here, right? William the Conqueror, because that's where the Templars come, as the Normans. But we also see, I thought I clicked Magna Carta. It's giving me royalty for some reason. Please stand by.
Yeah, because we've been talking about it, and then you went like a robot too, so that's fun.
Yeah. And
now the pages. Okay, that's fun.
This is fun, right?
Hi, three-letter agencies.
Yeah,
we are just full of shit.
It's called the SOC. It's called the SOC, Hattie. The Society of Cincinnati.
Boy.
That's a 3-letter agency.
Sorry, we're just full shit, and I'm a blonde, and I don't know anything. So.
Yeah,
I have big boobs and blonde hair.
Well, I'm sure I'll get some emails from you. I always do. I just I usually just have a smart ass remark, as always, as I do to most things in life. Anyhow, my point being is we see 25 Knights Templar that bring us the Magna Carta in 1215. George Washington's 14th through 17th great grandfathers are 10 of those 25 Knights Templar, and we see him 500 plus years later providing us the Magna Carta number 2. Magna Carta 2.0 is what the modern day historians refer to as the Bill of Rights in the U.S. Constitution. So we're obviously looking at a secret war here, 500 plus years apart, when we see 10 of those knights' grandson doing the same thing, and the rest of their descendants comprising the secret society that starts America. And lo and behold, you see the society starting on Friday the 13th in May of 1783. How very Templar of them.
Well, and they're just nice people that want to, help people and stuff, right?
Well, I think there's two sides of it, right? I think there's two sides of it. I think it's fair to say that there's as I described the society feud, it started on day one, right? It started on day one. Again, George had coups during the war, right? Again, that fellow with the submarine, his forefather, that jackass. So if that jackass's forefather was anti-liberty, well, and you see the Marxist communist statements out of Stockton Rush III, was it a surprise? That's what I mean by, if you understand that their ancestors have been passing down these viewpoints and perspectives. I was taught to love America, because that's what I'm saying. I can see of the anti-liberty side of the society. If the anti-liberty society was given the same upbringing that I was from the opposite angle, that's what I would expect to see out of Stockton Rush III.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, absolutely. And especially where, since John D, at least, I'm sure before, they've been trying to make a new world order. We know this. We know. And who's always involved in that? Oh, wait, what was John D? A magician, right? Okay. Well, you know what I think about people from Salem that are hanging witches. I'm just saying.
Well, I would argue, as we're describing a lot of these things, we're poking holes in a lot of the official narratives and getting a better understanding of things. And I would argue that you have to consider that with all these matters. And again, I don't think everyone in the society has negative intentions. Again, liberty has different meanings to folks, and that can be disputed and argued later. But there is a stark anti-liberty side that you could say is globalist or whatever. This is an old argument, goes back to Jesus. King Herod, the king of the Jews there, he was pro-Rome, right? So this is an argument that goes back globalism as far as nationalism goes, and the Templars' heritage, that is, with their heritage back to their King Jesus and Mary, their king and queen. But we see this fella, the new Pope. He's from French Protestant origins, and he's got kinfolk in the French chapter of the Society of Cincinnati, and that's documented. I can demonstrate that. I don't think he's a member, but I'm just saying he's got kinfolk of not that far away in his tree that are members.
Wow. And
So,
also, by the way, they're not Martinists, even though we've got French stamped all over this, and that would make 100% sense. Way better than Scottish Rite, that was not widespread over here, which they try to constantly blame a lot of the magical rites on, which they call folk magic, which is Solomonic magic. Let's get real and call it what it is. I mean, it's a whole bunch of ridiculous, you know. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I told you in our last discussion, you've been bringing up a lot of these things regarding Martinism, and I told you I'd look for the epicenter of Martinism, the Grand Orient Freemasonry in the Society of Cincinnati in France in the mid 18th century.
100%. Oh, way to go. There's an awesome. Okay, so I always just assume it was Lumen Walters, you know, because he's clearly been to France right before and came back as a heathen, but this is even better. So.
Let's bring this right back to the Templar story then. So we see that in the Templar bloodline story, like the Da Vinci Code, you have the Priory of the Scion, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're the folks that protect the bloodline of Jesus. So this guy was allegedly a member of the Priory of Scion, along with his pals Sir Isaac Newton and Alexander Pope. He's a Scotsman who brought Freemasonry to France. That would later spawn that Grand Orient Lodge as an offshoot of the Scottish Rite that was brought in here by this fellow. So, and it's in that epicenter of activity. We see the French members of the Society of Cincinnati. We see American members, future American members like Thomas Jefferson, who's intermingling with these folks, and Benjamin Franklin, who's appointed an honorary member himself. So we see them intermingling with these same things. So I don't have the whole story yet, but I'm saying we see an epicenter of activity with these characters. Back to the Templar stuff, though, because this guy's supposedly Priory.
Very interesting. So it'll go back to his great grandpa's, probably the one that was the statesman, I assume, Captain Samuel Smith. As
far as
the Martinism, because if he's the one that was most likely in the Society of Cincinnati, and he served, and the whole passing down of the magic, and I did see somebody say not all folk magic is Solomonic. What I'm talking about is the Solomonic magic that actually Joseph Smith was using is Solomonic, and it's 100% on the parchments. Like anybody can go check.
Laz is the apologize. Go ahead, Heidi.
Oh, episode 172 on my podcast on Spotify. It will show like a breakdown of all of it. So not talking about all folk magic. I'm talking about the church's reference to folk magic. It's Solomonic in Joseph's case. Yeah. I should have been more specific.
Laz is oftentimes my resource for anything magical related, because he's the White Witch Doctor of the Ozarks there.
Oh, gotcha. Smith was definitely advanced for sure.
Grimoires, right now, but he's using grimoires. These are the same grimoires that that Aleister Crowley would use, right? That Jack Parsons and gang would use. That
100%.
That L. Ron Hubbard would use. I think it's the Lesser Keys of Solomon, right? Is one of the grimoires.
These are lesser and greater keys, and then he is definitely using Agrippa's stuff, and he's also using the witch's Sibley's Book of Witchcraft. And they often state that he did not have access to these books, but I will tell you that his cousin on both his father's side and his mother's side, so the related different sides, was Professor Johnny Smith of Dartmouth Indian College. And he was the rare book dealer there in town and had a rare bookstore. And he also he was a professor of languages, and he had all these different connections, even into Arabic magic and different things. So Scott Chronicon comes up, all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah.
Well, the Arabic magic, we're back again, Sufism to the Templars. So the Sufis and the Templars, the Sheath Assassins were Sufi practitioners, and they intermingled and formed the same organization as the Knights Templars.
Yep. Sufis, definitely 100%.
I did an occult and esoteric review of the film Robin Hood. I covered some of these aspects. Folks can go check out. Yeah, it was. I love the Robin Hood tale, because it tells the story of the Knights Templar and the Magna Carta. Folks just don't realize it because it's not described to you that way.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry. The I should have been more specific on that, but hopefully everybody knows where it's coming from now. Yeah, his stuff is really, and even the knife, like I thought, okay, well maybe it was his mentor that was Jewish that was teaching him some of these things, but no, because the knife was handed down through the family. So the
Exactly.
Mars
Yeah, that's what I'm
dagger.
saying. These are
Mhm.
passed down the bloodlines. We're talking about the Jupiter knife and the Mars amulet, or Mars dagger and the Jupiter amulet, right?
Yep. Jupiter talisman and Mars dagger. Yes, yes. So it's interesting. Like they want to say certain things, and I get that they're trying to make it less than what it is. But honestly, if they would just make it what it is, I think they would have a better situation in their life. I don't know.
Well, they're just trying to church it up, Heidi. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
hide these
for
things
sure.
from the profane, if you will. So this was on Smith's body along with his Jupiter amulet or Jupiter talisman, right?
Yes. The Jupiter talisman, no holy underwear that day. I guess he skipped. I don't know. Maybe
Well,
they were dirty.
that's clearly why he got murdered. If he was wearing the holy underwear,
Uh,
the bullet would have deflected off of it, and he would have lived.
Also, they say that his Jupiter talisman was made incorrectly. So apparently, maybe that was a part of it. But dang it. Oh boy. Yeah. When I say Mars dagger, that is just, and she's right, it isn't a tame, but I just am saying what they say it is. They, as in the LDS.
Right.
But Shelley's absolutely right. So
The
yeah, they like to call these things folk magic and just a knife and blah 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 blah.
Well,
So
while we're talking Mormons and magic, let's go ahead and talk about that Toad situation while we're at it, because that really is
oh
an interesting
sure.
tale to me that has never really been unpacked before to its fullest extent, in my opinion. And we've discussed it a little bit with the Hoffman affair, but this ties right into that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, well, something like a toad. So I'm glad you have it pulled up, and hopefully it's citing. If not, I'll look it up where this story came from, because that's super important. It was from a court case. It wasn't just some neighbor said something, blah blah blah. It's not that. So there it is, affidavit. So at a time when they're hanging witches, I don't know that you would want to volunteer yourself to go and be a part of a magical talk, right? In the middle of court, unless it freaking happened. And also, they just say this guy hated him and that was all. So, this story, it's the Chases. Look, Dr. Nathan Smith marries this guy's sister, Sally Chase. They don't ever talk about that. The doctor that saved Joseph Smith's leg, his cousin on both sides, married this guy's sister, so they must not be in all that bad of terms. Also, he went on to start the medical school at Yale, fun enough. So anyway, Dr. Nathan Smith and Professor Johnny Smith are both super interesting. With the Dartmouth episode we did, it's not done, it's in edit, it's coming, and I think it's a great one. It will help pull a lot of this together. So yeah. But something like a toad came out and punched him in the face because it turned into a man, because he didn't do it correctly. And we can look at this further, but he didn't. I think he turned around and looked or something. Pillar of saltish. I'm not sure.
And that's a manuscript, or that's an affidavit from 1833 talking about that. But then we see a letter pop up in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a big controversy, right? And some bombings, some folks got murdered.
Yes. So Hoffman, what happens, in my opinion, now I'm not saying he didn't or did kill anyone. He was found guilty in a court of law. So Mark Hoffman, he was a great forger. He kind of swindled the church, so they say, out of many rare documents. And he comes up with, he hated the church, basically, so they say, on his mission, because he started losing his testimony there. And he said that he found this in a book and he sold it to the church, but he didn't sell it to the church. He sold it to some guy that was a bishop that gave it to the church because they don't want their hands dirty. And
well, he wasn't just any bishop, though, right?
Right. Yeah. Well,
he was part of the Christensen family, was he not?
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, I served with one of his cousins in Iraqistan. When I went to Iraqistan in 2010 to close it down for the Air Force, Baghdad Airport. That is, they sent one of the units we had. We had a huge unit, MP unit, 600 people, probably 600 folks, but about 40 or 50 of them were from the Utah Air National Guard, which were comprised of all Mormons from Utah and Idaho. So I served with one of the Christensen fellas, paternal cousins.
Oh,
So
okay.
he and I were discussing some of these matters of, these, because again,
Toads.
there's obviously something going on when they're keeping
Yeah.
these things up to the higher echelon of the mothership, and they're incorporating
Yes.
folks with the original OG paternal membership of the church, right, with the Christiansons, right?
Right. And then I think, in my opinion, okay, look, he built a bunch of bombs that worked and killed some people, but then the bomb for himself didn't work and he didn't kill himself. So, like, that's kind of interesting. I'm just saying, but all of a sudden they get
Well,
this salamander
on that note,
letter.
on that note, if I may, real quick before we get into the letter, what the evidence is bullshit against the guy. I mean, one of the biggest pieces of evidence they had was, well, look, the bomber had the same varsity jacket of the same high school that this dude went to. Well, how many other folks had that same varsity jacket?
Well, and the ones he built supposedly for himself they were not the same. They were completely different.
Yeah.
These
And
are like
anytime you
pressure
have a
bomb.
Netflix documentary where everyone's talking shit about the guy.
Uh-oh. You just froze. Hopefully you come back. They really don't like this one. No, just kidding. Oh, JJ.
Am I back?
There, you're back. You're back.
So all Hoffman's criminal constituents, some of which didn't go to prison, they were all talking shit about him in the documentary, and he can't defend himself. I just find that very bizarre.
Well, and here's the thing. So I find it bizarre that the church, okay, they get this letter and they go balls to the walls with this. Like, I remember when this happened, they put it in the Ensign, they put it in, agree, Shelley, they put it in a bunch of different stuff. And I'm like, okay, why would you publish this everywhere before you like why they didn't just stick it in the vault, right? Why would they put this everywhere? Well, okay. If you know something's going to come out, if it's recirculating again, which things oftentimes do, if you know that that's coming and you want to get ahead of it, why not make a story similar and make it better? Because we all, like, when you study about witchcraft and witches' familiars, a toad is in that category, whereas a salamander, especially for the Templars, is not a bad thing, and it's considered magical, and it's not burned by the fire and all this stuff. So he basically changed it. He did an alchemical change for the church, and he made this much better. And basically what happened with that is now every single time you go and talk to somebody, yes, exactly, about the salamander story or the toad story, and they will say, no, that's fake. It's Mark Hoffman. And I'm like, look, like, I'm telling you, like, this is a whole situation. And to his point, yeah, exactly. But you can't even get to that point. If you tell him it's not even a real salamander, you're just going to get nowhere. But I can't even get past the toad part because people are so crazy about it. So
the
long
toad
story
is
short.
The toad instead of, if I may, Heidi, just the toad. So is instead of the angel Moroni, it's really just it's a toad instead, right?
Right. So it was something like a toad, and then it turned into a man, and then it punched him. And so,
right. But this is what I'm saying is, though, for context of the official story, this is in place of the angel Moroni visiting him, right?
No. This is a different day. He did something wrong, supposedly. I don't know exactly.
Oh, I thought this was all. I thought part of the whole salamander business was drawing into question the fact that there was no angel Moroni as well. I thought wasn't that part of the letter? Maybe I'm misconstruing it.
Go back down. I'm not sure 100 on that part. I do know they were.
It's been a while since I've looked at it too.
I know that he was there to see the plates again, because it took 7 years or something for him to get these. And so,
right, but wasn't it the salamander that sent him to the plates there, right?
Right, it was there on top of the plates, supposedly.
Right.
Like,
so instead of Moroni, we got a salamander now, right?
Yeah, just on that particular time, but I don't know if the angel was there as well. That I'm not sure.
Oh,
So
maybe I just removed. I might have just removed Moroni from the whole thing when we have one instance of a salamander doing it.
But I do think he was practicing magic. I do think Dr. C is correct here. There's all kinds of things with toads and toad sigils and workings with toads and salamander. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And honestly, I think the people that know magic, much like Crowley, knew this, right? And for the lay people, it still is better for it to be the salamander situation instead of a toad, even for the lay people, because it's a little bit better. So, okay, here we go. Is really there. Okay.
Yeah. So
one of the years. Yeah. Not erasing the whole story.
Well, what you're saying though about Hoffman and kind of the shit coating of everything from the church's angle makes a lot of sense to me why they would even release it in the first place. Because we see this book was published in 1834, but when I was in the church years ago, I've been gone for 22 years now, but the first 22 years of my life when I was in the church, they would describe that Tanner book, I would be told, as the first critical book against the church. And that ain't true. This was written 4 years after
the
Church
Book
of
of Pukai. The Book of Pukai is like the funniest one. And it's like right after. It looks like pukey eye is what it looks like when you look it up. But yeah,
I'll bring it up. What I'm saying here, though, is we're all disputing this in the 80s, and this was this huge event within the church, which it was. It was already hashed out 140 years prior.
Right. And directly after the Book of Mormon went to the publishing, there was another book called the Book of Pukai, which is where we get a lot of the information about Lumen Walters and different things in that one, of them making fun of Joseph Smith immediately. So it's constant. This is, Abner Cole, 1830s. Like, this is all stuff that they've been talking shit about him, is what I'm saying, like constantly.
Right.
And we know that
but there
was magicians.
Well, we knew that in 1834. There was
the
salamander was known about then. So that's what I'm saying. This whole thing in the 80s was some sort of drama.
Yeah, exactly. And so the fire elemental. Okay, so all of this is back to magic. Dr. C, I'm not going to mess up your name, so I'm going to call you that, is correct. But here's the problem. I mean, the church ran with this and they put it everywhere. And I really think they were trying to either communicate a message, to others out there, or they were trying to obfuscate like what was really a different situation to make it a little better. And either way, what I'm saying is with Hoffman, it's very interesting. Once he gets locked up for the rest of time, if you bring this up, they will just, if I say, hey, this one time about the toad, or even if you say salamander, oh, that's just a lie. That was just Mark Hoffman. He wrote it. No,
that's what I'm saying.
Real. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They did
real.
A good job of doing that, right?
Mm-hmm. And then Hoffman ends up in prison. And for the rest, of this time, he was at first talking and talking out, but then all of a sudden he tried to unalive himself and laid on his writing arm for 12 hours. He'll never forge again because that arm is neurologically damaged. And, it's very messed up now. And he quit speaking at all. He quit speaking out.
That's a good point. That Swedenborg stuff ties into that same.
Swedenborg does.
Mm-hmm. No, in France,
Sufi,
it ties into
Swedenborg.
It ties in that same group of folks in France with the Martinism, the Scottish Rite, the Grand Orient, and the Society of Cincinnati. There's Swedenborg stuff going on there too. So there's this weird confluence of all these ideas at that same time in the mid 18th centuries in France.
Well, and we're sitting watching all of these magical things here. Like, there's people in the know here on the side, and the funny thing is we can see it, but then they're just taking it all apart. Like, at that point, whenever Brigham took over, all the magic went away. And I think that was kind of what Lucy was doing when she was pushing that book. She was going to say some shit. And then I think he made that go away. So yeah, he paid her off basically. So.
Well, I mean, again, they're hiding elements that they don't want folks to know about. So we see the founding father, Elias Boudinot, member of the Society of Cincinnati, signatory of the Declaration of Independence, write a large part of that same narrative we see in the Book of Mormon in 1818, I think. Yes. So this talks about the stories that would be incorporated in the Book of Mormon. So we see it again in more of Society of Cincinnati theology and philosophy from the members of their group. We see it preceding Smith, right?
Yes.
These are the less
Faculty of
magical
Abrac.
elements.
Yes.
What's that?
Yes. This guy knows. The faculty of Abrac is totally mentioned by his mother. 100%. Yeah.
This would be the less magical aspects that I'm trying to describe here, though. You see what I'm saying? As far as, no, you're fine. But I'm saying these are we're sold these narratives, but we can obviously look now and see that these things aren't true. And we see that, again, the society stuff with that Solomon Spaulding stuff, because we know now that I knew Rigdon connected to Spaulding from Pittsburgh in the Millerite movement. But then you brought to the table that Solomon Spaulding's a Society Cincinnati guy who goes back to the Smiths in New Hampshire. So
through the cousin through the cousin, Professor Johnny Smith taught Solomon Spaulding. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get a better connection than that, can you? I mean, he's learning from the teacher. Maybe that's where this story comes from in the first place.
Yeah.
The Smiths.
So it's interesting.
It just happens to go from New Hampshire to Pittsburgh to Kirtland, Ohio, back through Sidney Rigdon, right?
And
we look at it thinking that that's the way it goes, but maybe they all knew each other.
You're right.
Just looking at it from the wrong perspective, right?
Yep. Very interesting. And they try to say that Professor Johnny Smith was not related. If you look him up, you won't see hardly anything other than it's not him. They're not related, but he is documented. I found genealogical proof on both sides through cousins, through both the mother and the father. So,
well, we've seen that a lot of times, haven't we? Looking at some of these families, they kind of like to shit coat.
Yeah,
they like to shit coat to see who these people are, right? Like I told you, I can't find Jack Bouvier, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, Onassis's father, his paternal heritage, but I strongly his Jack Bouvier's second great grandfather is named Francis Joseph Bouvier. So is the name of this admiral from the French chapter. So they try to say it's not him, but I do believe this is him.
Right.
On the same thing you're saying, like they're when it's an important relationship, it seems they hide it. Yeah. They conflate it with the things. There's 4 different family trees for a character we know as James Earl Ray. None of them have the same parents. So again, I might have believed that everyone's that bad at genealogy. They just post 4 random trees on the interwebs, and we can't figure out who Jack Bouvier's second great grandfather is. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah. Why? Why? When these families are important, and we know this, why is it that we can't find the information on these people? No.
And that's why I think you make some excellent points on the Smiths there, and regarding these matters, because again, we see the philosophy. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, you've made it a very strong circumstantial argument for the family tree stuff, and then we see the philosophy and activities of these people circling back around 50 years later in the Mormon movement, right, or 40 years later, whatever it is there, right?
Well, and I definitely think what Brigham did is he just came in and cleaned up the magical aspect and changed it into private. I don't think they got rid of it by any means. I think it became very, very, private and elite. And that's what they did with it, just like everyone, and there is a whole excerpt from Lucy Mack-Smith speaking about she doesn't waste all her time soothsaying or drawing magic circles and Abrac and the House of Abrac to the House of Abrac. It's a whole thing. Like I have a bunch on that, but it's just crazy. Like what the hell? Like, why would she just put that out there? She did it on purpose. She did that.
Is that where Solomon Spaulding gets his name?
Oh, I don't know. King Solomon.
You know what I mean?
Popular. Yeah. Well, my favorite one is
was it popular?
Azael. My favorite one is
that's what I'm saying. We see
grandpa.
We see the same core group of people having these kind of magical names, right? The Smiths, the Spauldings there, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, Hiram. Yeah. So, yep. Pretty funny.
So
yeah.
I appreciate all of this conversation and your time tonight, Heidi, and I appreciate you joining me to get a little GCD.
Of course.
And I want to close out with some Utah with some few points of discussion on Knights Templar, Mormon stuff, Utah, ancient occult genealogy and heritage of America we don't understand. And we discussed in that last conversation, we mentioned at the beginning of the show that you and I did with Tim from 6th Century Podcast, that we discussed a lot of that ancient. You brought up a lot of great points on the ancient history of Utah, right? The nation of Deseret.
Yes, yeah, it's very strange.
And we see that in the film. We see a lot of these elements being depicted in a film about the Knights Templar. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade begins in a tale in southeast Utah, right? And I got a quick clip of that to show folks here.
Dig with your hands, not with your mouth.
Got our thing. Mr. Havelock! Anybody? Everybody's lost but me.
There he is. Let's go, let's go.
So we see that in Arches National Park, right? And you kind of had some in that discussion. You brought up some interesting points around the ancient history of this region.
Oh yeah, there's some very interesting alien petroglyphs all over in Utah. Very strange. I'm calling them alien because they're giants with antennas on the side of their head. So,
and folks can find that show already posted on your YouTube channel, correct?
I think that one is on my Spotify. I don't think I can't remember if I put that out on the regular, but let me look and see which episode.
Oh, no worries. I'll have your I got your link tree in the show notes so folks can find it on your Spotify as well.
188 Utah Mystery or History.
Nice. So we see that it's supposedly a fictional artifact there, the Cross of Coronado, though, right? And you might be thinking, well, how does that tie into the Templars? Well, the Templars, when they disbanded there in, was it 1307, Friday the 13th, or whatever there, the ones that were down there in Spain and Portugal, they formed different secret societies. And these folks we know as Spanish conquistadors, like Coronado, like Del Soto, these folks are descended from Templar.
Yep.
Right.
And we know that there's a strong Mormon history in Mexico, which we will be talking about here in a couple days. So
yes, ma'am.
Very
with
interesting. Very
Rye over Codex. Was it? I always get his Codex is Codega Codex of Curiosity. There we go.
Yes.
I like it, but it's a mouthful to try, or a brain hole to try to get all that in order. I like alliterations. You know, I'm double J here, but you know that's a lot of alliteration going on there. So
Triple
we
C.
see the film. We see the film. What was that?
Just do double C.
Triple C. Codex is Curiosity.
Oh, he's got three.
Codega is Codex of Curiosity. So we got three C's.
There we go. Three
C's.
C's. Triple C.
That's his new name from now on. Triple C. Right. Triple C.
Too hard.
So, now I'm looking forward to that conversation because I've been looking at a lot of this cold activity in Mexico and it is very interesting.
Oh, they're crazy. They go hard in the paint. They're wild people.
The Mormons always are, right? So what do you think? What are your thoughts on these Knights Templar connections to this area of southern Utah and whatnot we see depicted in the film?
Yeah, in the film, I think they're always doing revelation of the method. I mean, I think they're always telling us things, but we know that they've been here a lot sooner than Columbus. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
He came through Canada. I mean, we just see.
Well, that's a good example though, because we know Columbus's name. He married the Knights of Christ or whatever there in Portugal, which that was the descendants of the Knights Templar, and he married the daughter of the head of that organization. So once again, we're talking Templar business.
Yes. Yep. And they pushed. I mean, the church pushed having them take wives that were indigenous to get their powers. They knew they had magical powers, period. Like they pushed it, and they pushed buying, and yes, I did say buying up their children to make them more white and delightsome. And that is a direct quote from good old Brigham. And so I'm sorry to say, there's a lot of things going on there. A lot of things going on there. So
the Mormons have always been Nazis, Heidi. Let's be honest about the situation.
Oh, for sure. Well,
when Otto von Bolschwing signed up, it wasn't because he liked their services or aliens or whatnot. They're all Nazis.
No.
So Well, isn't it weird though? We know the Templar are here long before. We know that the Kensington runestone was buried, I believe it's stated 1362. And we see the descendants of these folks, right? The Mormons, the offshoot of the Society of Cincinnati, going to the nation of Deseret, and we see this film later depicting, maybe Templar stuff out there. Is that the reason, perhaps, why they went out there? Because we see the film tied even more into the whole Holy Grail Templar tale with another clip. If I may show this here,
yes,
and close this thing out.
Absolutely.
It's important.
Then wait. Count to 20.
No, Dad, you listen.
Junior!
To me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
In Greek.
Ena, Theo, Thea. Tessida, Dente.
May he who illuminated this illuminate me.
So we see one of my favorite Scotsmen, Sean Connery, doing his, Indiana Jones's dad deal with doing his Holy Grail encyclopedia he's building, right? So it's just a weird connection. We're seeing all these elements of the Templar brought to us there in the film, suggesting these has some deeper heritage to Southern Utah.
Oh yeah, makes it
Southern
makes me
Deseret, if
wonder.
you will.
Yes, Deseret. Yes, of course. I love the all-seeing eye stone they sent for the state
let
of
me bring that up.
Deseret.
Let me bring that up on the giant dick statue that George
Yes, on the
Washington
dick.
never asked.
The seeing eye on the dick.
Well, George Washington never asked for that giant dick statue in Washington D.C. either.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah.
Deseret. Yeah, I mean, that's what they were called at the time. Again, Wikipedia says that it was at 1849 to 1850. So it makes you wonder how in 1853 the nation state of Deseret contributes this to the Washington Dick statue.
Yeah, too funny.
And one other interesting aspect is I don't know a ton about Freemasonry and their composition and organizational structures, but there's the George Washington National Freemasonic building or whatever there in Alexandria, not the lodge that he attended, but this was built in the 1920s. It's a giant Babylonian ziggurat, which he didn't ask to be built in his name, but they did it anyway. They have 13 lodges within this system. One of those lodges is in Salt Lake City, so we know there's some mothership activity.
Oh yeah. Well, somebody brought up Paracelsus, one of the main, there was a Paracelsus museum and society quite active here in Utah for a long time. I mean, it's just strange. Like there is an all-seeing eye in that beehive too, but I think it's above at the top. But
I can bring up a closer image.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, yes, very Masonic of them.
There you go.
So I think it's the top. I remember looking at it vividly. It's hidden in that greenery somewhere. There it is. See, ta-da! With the rays of the sun. Righto. We know why. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here, and there's also,
Heidi, that's an understatement, ma'am. That's an understatement.
Yeah, there was supposedly alchemical labs hidden in the underground for people here, and I had a viewer send me pictures of what was in the sidewalk, and if you knew where to find these little symbols, you could find it and go there, but it's all closed down now. But he did send me some of the signs, and they were definitely Masonic. Quite interesting.
Oh, for sure. Well, you broke this down for me when you introduced this image to me. I did not know it existed like this, so I appreciate that for sure. And what can you break down some of the imagery we're looking at here relative to the Mormons?
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on which way you want to cut it, but it's definitely Masonic. I mean, in nature, for sure. I mean, we know they say Deseret is, they're supposedly, the beehive state in general. And so, they're all working together, etc. Do I think that's all it is? No, I think this is a nod, in my opinion, to not just Martinism, right? We know that some of the dark masonry goes to Cagliostro, which goes directly to Egypt. And a lot of this ties to that if people look up some of this. There's a lot going on in this photo with, the rays and I think there's a trumpet up here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. Yeah, I think I see that. But long story short, yeah, it's a lot. Holiness, yeah, that was one of his parchments as well. Holiness to the Lord. It's also on all of
I
the
did
temples.
not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So and there is there is this one, the holiness to the Lord, the St. Peter's binds them, and another one I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the last
So
one.
is the
But
beehive stuff also partly
Jehovah.
Is it partly rooted in the goddess worship amongst these families?
Well, they're not ever going to admit that. They're never ever going to admit goddess women. Oh my gosh! But yeah, for sure. I mean, you know who runs the beehive? The queen.
There you go, ma'am. And you've
So-
discussed some of the secret ceremonies that go on with some of these matters relative to modern day Mormonism, at least. I'm sorry.
Well, the last known, I will just say known, because you know at certain higher levels we would probably never know if they have another ceremony. But one of the top ones we do know, and Mithras is this guy's great. The Mithras cult.
I told you.
Yeah, I do want to say. I went through and researched what was the most similar to the LDS ceremony, and it is Mithras. So you're not wrong on that. But I'm just saying the last blessing you'll ever receive in the Mormon church is the second anointing, which it comes from all the normal like ways, whatever. But when you get home, the last part of it is the woman lays her hands upon your head as the woman seals that blessing in your marital bedroom. So there is some goddess energy here as well. I mean, we know, you know, the Gnostic type situation. I mean, there's no fountain of living waters without the phallus. So, you know, it all goes together. I mean, they're taking that out though. So, meh. I'm just saying, I think it.
I describe my upbringing in the church as very Gnostic.
Yeah, it is. It's very Gnostic in nature, whatnot. But I mean, they don't think that.
I don't know if this is everyone's experience. This is my experience. Once I got the priesthood, so I was 13, I guess, right? The first priesthood. You know, that's when they start telling me the world's a conspiracy. You know, basically we live in a prison planet concept.
Yeah.
Like everything's of the devil, right? You know. So
yes,
I adapted a pretty Gnostic view from those kind of concepts pretty quickly.
Well, and you know, having the devil show up in the Garden of Eden while we're going through the temple is always fun. But whatever, them and their fig leaves, you know, it is what it is. It's all in there. But I just think that overall, maybe. Oh, no kidding. No shit on that one. Oh yeah, so bad. Well, they might change it by then. They're changing everything. Yes, the trumpets for sure. But I just think that if they were more honest, they'd have better converts. If they were more honest, they'd probably have more converts, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think we've demonstrated a lot why they can't be more honest due to the nature of where this thing comes from.
Brigham shut it down. Even though Brigham was from a magical family, his family apparently knew how to shut it up. And Joseph was a little loose on his lips. Yeah.
You want to understand the spook game in this country, you got to go talk to the Mormons. That's what Howard Hughes did, right?
Absolutely. 100%. Yep. And they ran a tight ship until they double-crossed him and took his empire. But hey, you know, the gays won in the end. And I don't mean the gay people. I mean, William Gay is his name. So, oh boy,
too much competition. And everyone's a wizard. There's too much competition. I don't disagree. So
they they couldn't be wizards anymore when they made them cut off their beards, right?
Well, they're still wizards. They just do it behind closed. Just like the polygamy, that wasn't public. That was outed by the Nauvoo governor and second in charge of the militia behind Joseph Smith when he kicked him out. So that was not public. This was not something that was practiced by all. So these are the things that are kept secret, right?
Absolutely. They keep so much secret. I don't know. I mean, honestly, it would be awesome if we could ever get in their vaults, just like, you know, the Vatican vaults. They've got almost as much, I'd say.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to close. I thank you for your time again. I want to bring this to a close here this evening, ma'am, and I appreciate you joining me to get a little GCD and happy to take your time with any closing statements, but if I may offer you this one, and my closing statement is, it sounds like we need to start going around to every church and chapel here of the Mormon religion and changing that angel at the top of Moroni to a little salamander.
We'll get in deep trouble. I tell you what, you better still have a trumpet because that's fun.
Yeah, I'm talking about, a salamander with a trumpet instead of Angel Moroni there, right?
Yeah, that would be, I mean, who knows, right? But I will say this, when you guys look into things, Joseph Smith's first son died. He was horribly disfigured right after he was did receive the plates. Supposedly his son was born, and they named it his dead brother's name, which was also the first son of the father. So, it's Faustian as shit. And not only that, don't forget, we've got this lady, Mary Eastie, who was hung and killed for witchcraft, which, the grandpa made happen. And we've got this happening 132 years later on the same night. We have Joseph Smith supposedly getting the plates on the same night.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that because
Cool.
these anniversaries are important to these folks, right?
Oh, it's the fall equinox. It's the one time Martinus can channel. Well, fall and spring equinox is the times that they can channel things to speak to them. So do I think that it was an accident? No, definitely not. It was planned. Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much. I am Heidi Love of the Unfiltered Rise. I'm everywhere podcasts are served. Unfilteredrisepodcast.com if you want to go there instead. And I drop way more shows on Spotify than YouTube because they nail us all the time. Speaking of big dick energy. Anyway, thank you, JJ, for inviting me.
Oh, yes, ma'am. No, thank you. I always enjoy these conversations, and I always learn something new every time. And this was a real barn burner, as I promised everybody at the beginning of the show, and I expected nothing less when we talk. It's always something new and exciting for me as well. Now, you have a Patreon too, though, right?
Oh, yeah, I do have, and it is videos. All my Spotify is video, just so people know it's all videos. And I do have a Patreon, and on there I do extra episodes because I don't like cutting my episodes short. So instead, I feel like it's better to give you guys 2 extra shows a month because I feel like that's more fair. So that's what I do.
There you go.
For $5.
Well, I appreciate your time, ma'am. And it looks like the chat. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I said just for a cup of coffee. Go see me there.
Absolutely. I always learn everything. Every time we talk, I always learn something new here.
So much fun.
I think we're getting a lot closer to understanding a lot of this occult genealogy of America and these secret societies and the Society of Cincinnati. You've helped me understand a lot.
And vice versa.
Causing me to I appreciate it, man, because I reevaluate some of these matters. Like, to understand this JFK situation, we got JFK Jr. We got, we got who he's a baby, but he's inheriting that membership already because his grandfather's dead. We got JFK, a member. We got Lee Harvey Oswald, J. Edgar Hoover, an honorary member of the Society of Cincinnati, inducted in 1946 in the New York chapter. So what are we looking at here when we have all the society in and around this whole situation, right?
So much is planned. And when people say this to me, they're going to have a new world order. I'm like, you're funny. It's been here a long time, but that's all.
Well, I think it has. These folks have been feuding with one another for so long, right?
Yes. Yep. They know exactly what's up, and they do what they want with it. But yeah, magic is a huge piece of Mormonism, and I will never let them live that down simply because they actually use it they harness it, they take the energy and they use it. And these people that don't know anything about it just think they're serving God. That's not okay with me. I don't care what you do. Like, I don't care if you're a magician. I don't care if you're a Satanist. I don't care. It's not my life. But you don't do that to innocent people. You don't do that. So
I totally agree, ma'am. And I wonder where that intersection of activity, as far as the motivations go and the impetus behind it, intersects with the Society of Cincinnati, the organization which the Mormons were an offshoot. So that's
we have to look into that. We need to look into that more. Magical aspects of that. Yeah, we need to do that one. Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the folks of the interwebs. And you can catch me on Sundays here this week talking about the NASA Sterling automobile engine that taxpayer money funded, Detroit and John Deere buried, and it got 100 miles per gallon. So that's an interesting tale. And how I intersected with that was the Air Force and NASA were developing this along with the Department of Energy back in 78 through 82 or 83. And then I was part of the remake of the project. I was selected as the driver for the Air Force's reattempt to do this car. And the first version got 60 MPGs, and the second one got 100. And I was supposed to drive it from New York to Los Angeles on one tank of fuel, but other matters impeded. But nonetheless, I got videos, I got stories on these matters, and
Awesome.
should be an interesting tale on Sundays. Folks can come check that out. And then I got my Operation GCD Thursdays, where I've been unpacking the psychological operations surrounding the anatomy of the Satanic Panic, largely focused around this guy, old Muppet Mikey Aquino, and his demonic tales of tomfoolery.
Oh boy.
But on that note, ma'am, I appreciate your time, Heidi. I look forward to our next conversation on these matters. And did you have any other last plugs for the Unfiltered
Nope.
Rise?
Nope,
All
that's
right.
everything.
Well,
but
folks,
thank you, everybody.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. And folks of the interwebs, thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, well, check your six. Look in that garbage can, 'cause you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.